LGBTQ plus, all I have seen out here is the American flag. And it is so strange what it does. Like, Chicago drains you of your soul.
Are you getting recruited by the Church of Latter-day Saints out there?
No, I'm just saying that people here are so patriotic. And I went to a spin class, and the whole hour of songs were about America and loving America.
Has the governor there, Spencer Cox, has he told his wife what the story is? Is there any reporting on that?
No, Dan. No.
All right.
But there are Spencer Cox signs up still everywhere.
What's going on? What's going on with the Mormon church, with the Mormon Church of Latter-day Saints, and Kyle Filipowski? Did you see that story? Kyle Filipowski, the standout center for Duke, who just went surprisingly late in the NBA draft. Gosh, I'm glad the Bulls didn't pick up any size. And he's got a girlfriend who's Mormon, who's like 8 years older than him, that his parents are accusing of grooming him, that he's being groomed by his girlfriend. He's an adult. Yeah, he's right? 20 or 21 years old, whatever he is. I mean, it's not the sense that we normally talk about grooming, but that's the word that's being used. And so I didn't know if there's a lot of scuttlebutt there, or there's a plan to kidnap him or something like that.
No, I didn't even hear about that.
Well, you may want to be at the coffee shop. I'm sure all the Mormons in Utah are going to be talking about that. So you may want to brush up on that, and so you can be in on the conversation there.
Oh, but I have a question for you. All right, so my aerobic instructor, who's my new friend, my spin instructor, she was talking about during spin class about a book on the founding fathers. And she's, the 54, some people argue 56 people who authored the Declaration of Independence. So have you read The Signers yet, or have you read Lives of the Signers of the Declaration of Independence?
I haven't read that book specifically, but
because I'm deciding between the two.
They're great stories because most of them risked everything, and a lot of them gave up everything to rebel against the crown, and so there's stories of what the founders did. I know they're just mainly just straight dead white men,
right?
So
who might have owned slaves.
They're not that interesting, but or important. But actually, there's a lot of great stories there.
Yeah, so I'm deciding between buying The Signers or Lives of the Signers of the Declaration of Independence.
You can buy them both.
Yeah, but it's a lot of money. You
can go shakes.
I know, but I hate to buy if I buy both of them. Oh well, all right.
Yeah, it's a big decision.
Well, it is a big decision because I'm not like you. I'm not, but you were talking about books that impact your lives, and you never asked me about a book that impacted my life.
And Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. That's my guess. Am I warm?
I did read that twice.
Yeah.
No, I read Upton St. Clair's The Jungle.
Yeah.
Because I was having problems like food issues, and my grandpa suggested that I read that. And then when I was done, I looked at my grandpa like, you think that's going to help, Grandpa?
She was trying to turn you into a vegan or what?
No, because I was always curious as a kid, like, who's, like, why is, I know, oh my God,
you're going to think I'm socialist.
Crazy. Right? No. I just was worried, like, who's monitoring our food to make sure it's not poisoned?
Yeah.
And like, who's mining the store? And my grandpa was a butcher in Maywood on Fifth Avenue. He owned Christensen Foods, in case any of you remember that.
I don't think there's a Christensen who lives in Maywood anymore, but all right.
No, and his store is gone, and his last straw was 1968.
Yeah, sounds right.
No, somebody drilled a hole through the roof and pulled the safe out through the roof. And then he was done. He's like, you know what? I'm wrapping up shop. I've had enough. Mm-hmm. But anywho, so he's like, no, it's, because of FDR and that, just read this book. So I read it, and dear Lord, I'm surprised I'm not a vegan after reading that thing.
Okay, so that's the book that impacted your life. You learned about the meatpacking industry, the turn of the 20th century in Chicago.
Stockyards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, something. It's better than Sounder.
Okay. All right. And so you're looking for the next book that's going to impact your life.
And I'm deciding between The Signers and...
Somebody out there, please get Amy throw in for her to get both books. And then...
But I only like hardcovers. I can't do paperback.
Why don't you just an audiobook? Then when you're driving around going from blue hole to blue hole, you can just have the book read to you by, I don't know,
Somebody.
Morgan Freeman. I assume he voices all these audiobooks these days. I don't know. All right, we covered a lot of ground there. We went from Belize to Utah to 1960s Maywood.
Yes.
So that's our potpourri segment this morning.
What did you do for the 4th, by the way?
I played golf.
Oh, you didn't go into any fireworks shows? Which I can't see you doing that, so I don't even know why I asked.
No, I don't, like to be around large groups of people.
Yeah.
Especially here in Chicago for some reason. Maybe it has something to do with the 100 people who were shot, the 17 people dead this weekend. I mean, I know the numbers don't matter. It could have been 1,000 and 170. It doesn't matter. But I'm just saying that's just gives you some insight into my perspective about hanging out at the NASCAR race or the block parties or anything like that in Chicago, at least.
Did the NASCAR race ever get off again yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw it. It ended late, and it was like, I don't know, 7 o'clock or something like that, Mike. Yeah, 7 o'clock. Yeah, but they got it around.
That's 2 years in a row now that weather has impacted, and I don't know why we do it. I looked at the stands. There was nobody there. It's embarrassing.
Well, that's because people don't live in Chicago anymore. Coming up at 5:38, we turn our attention to the interview that was supposed to right the big guy's ship. Biden sitting down with George Stephanopoulos and the fallout from that interview at 5:38.
And she told the truth about Biden, and now she's out of a job. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Amy, conflict of visions with Thomas Sowell. I would suggest that be one of your first books that you read this.
Yes,
okay.
That's good. I mean, I will say, although you're going to have to block some time for this.
Yes, you sure will.
Witness. Everybody should read Whitaker Chambers' Witness.
That's a good book,
Witness.
too. Yeah.
Are these easy beach reads, guys?
So if you're going to spend an extended period of time on the beach. Yeah.
Yes. 5:30 on AM 560, The Answer. Hurricane Beryl is what we are watching in the newsroom this morning. Already landfall, Matagorda, Texas, about 90 miles southwest of Houston, where John Daniel lives.
There's lots of single moms, single people, that need help. Can't even afford to leave.
Houston Mayor John Whitmire, a strong message for everyone in southeast Texas to leave.
We have to take Beryl very, very serious. Our worst enemy is our complacency. We can't allow this storm to slip up on us. We've had notice of it. It's still very unpredictable.
Category 1 storm bringing heavy rain and a maximum 80-mile-an-hour wind gust this morning. As Congress reconvenes this week, President Biden's debate performance rightfully raising questions among top Democrats, including among them Democrat Senator Chris Murphy, who was on CNN saying Biden needs to show voters he's the same.
Voters do have questions, and personally, I love Joe Biden. I don't know that the interview on Friday night did enough to answer those questions. And so I think this week is going to be absolutely critical. I think the president needs to do more.
California Democrat Adam Schiff.
And I know people feel an urgency. I feel an urgency, but I would tell the president, slow down and take the time to make the right decision here.
Schiff on NBC's Meet the Press on Sunday. NFL rookie Kyrie Jackson is dead after a car crash in Maryland. The Vikings drafted the 24-year-old cornerback in April. He and two former high school teammates were driving near Washington, D.C. when they were struck by another car. 2 were killed, 19 others injured in a mass shooting at a block party on the east side of Detroit on Sunday. Police this morning say no one has been arrested. Boeing will plead guilty to criminal fraud over 2 fatal 737 MAX airplane crashes, one in 2018, one in 2019. The aircraft and aerospace company is also agreeing to pay a $243 million fine. Chicago coming off an extremely violent, extended 4th of July weekend, where at least 17 have been killed and more than 84 were wounded in shootings over the holiday weekend, far exceeding last year's numbers. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Chicago Police Superintendent Snelling will hold a press conference later this morning. Chicago's first responders say They're last when it comes to getting a contract. And over the weekend, they vented their frustrations at the NASCAR street race.
The mayor says constantly he's a pro-union mayor, that this is a pro-union city. It's not. Not only has he violated the agreement between us and the city 3 times that he just negotiated, but the firefighters have been out of contract for 3 years, and it's ridiculous.
FOP President John Catanzara marched with Pat Cleary from Firefighters Local 2.
Just think about it. July 4th, we had 55 shootings and 13 fires. We responded to all that. Some of us responded to those incidents shorthanded. Some of them were on overtime, working 48 hours in a row. It needs to stop. Our workers are overworked.
Firefighters have been working without a new contract since 2021. A Chicago pastor has been reported missing. Warren Beard's family say they've not heard from him since last Tuesday. It's believed Beard was last seen in Joliet. A driver who fled police across the Wisconsin border in a stolen vehicle was killed in a high-speed collision in Lake County's Newport Township over the weekend.
Where the debate is that he also lied 28 times. The way the debate ran, not my fault, nobody else's fault.
So he went from a question about prep. He took a question about prep, and he started with, I prep like I prep for a National Security Council meeting, to talking about New York Times polling, to talk about Trump lying. I mean, this is a good example of sort of the muscle memory, the rhetorical version of muscle memory. These are phrases that he can sort of reflexively kick out, but they don't go together. And they're non-responsive to questions that are being asked. And that happened multiple times. And again, Stephanopoulos, assuming he was listening to these actual answers and not just waiting to ask his next question, he could have easily said, Mr. President, this is what we're talking about. This is what people are talking about. I asked you a question about prep, and you went off on these tangents into polling and to what Trump did on stage. What was the problem with your prep? Why didn't you prepare such that your instincts would have otherwise led you to prepare, and so forth, and we get this sort of mishmash of phrases and excuses, but there was no pushback.
No, it was just embarrassing. At one point in time, he literally blamed Trump.
Well, Kaner was having a bad night when I realized that even when I was answering a question, even though they turned his mic off, he was still shouting, and I let it distract me. I'm not blaming it on that, but I realized that I just wasn't in control.
Yeah, the whole point was to, at the one point, try to pivot to Trump, and Trump lied, and make excuses for your performance, but pretend like you're not making excuses by saying it's nobody's fault but mine. So that's one approach. The other approach, again, is to run on his alleged record, which, of course, Stephanopoulos is not going to challenge, and he didn't challenge. But this was another foray that was bizarre. And here you got fabulous Joe coming to the fore. And again, this is more muscle memory rhetoric. It's reflexive. The question, can you do another 4 years, Mr. President? And then we get the whole watch me line that you've heard for at least the last 4 years.
And the question on so many people's minds right now is, can you serve effectively for the next 4 years?
George, I'm the guy that put NATO together, the future. No one thought it could expand it. I'm the guy that shut Putin down. No one thought it could happen. I'm the guy that put together the South Pacific Initiative with AUKUS. I'm the guy that got 50 nations, out, not only in Europe, outside of Europe as well, to help Ukraine. I'm the guy that got Japanese to expand their budget. For example, when I decided we used to have 40% of the computer chip in it, we invented the chip, that little chip, the computer chip. It's in everything from cell phone to weapons.
Yeah, we're familiar with computer
And so we used to have 40%, and we're down to virtually nothing. So I get in the plane against the advice of everybody, and I fly to South Korea. I convinced them to invest in the United States, billions of dollars. Now we have tens of billions of dollars being invested in the United States, making us back in a position where we're going to own that industry again. We have, I don't want to take too much credit. I have a great staff.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, his mumble of humility.
I
He's very
created
humble.
the world with my very hands, but I mean, I don't want to make a big deal about it. I got good people around me. Okay, very good. I'm the guy who took Putin out. What? Is Putin been taken down, out?
No, but don't tell him that. He doesn't know.
I put NATO together in 1949. That was you?
This is just like, he's drove an 18-wheeler. He was really active in the civil rights movement. His friend is Corn Pop, and black kids used to play with the blonde hair on his legs.
Yeah,
okay.
it's fabulous, Joe. But again, muscle memory rhetoric. And then when he loses his train of thought, you see them do this all the time. Anyway, is that the end? You want to go on to the next thing after explaining computer chips to us the way that Kamala explains artificial intelligence. But he lost his train of thought. He didn't have the next thing, so he goes, anyway, well, I don't want to. Anyway,
what?
Anyway.
He looks down to the right.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Yeah.
And then just final answer, and we'll take some calls, that got some Democrats riled up because it really undermined the rhetorical scam that they're running this cycle, that everything's on the line, every democracy, we're going to have some sort of dictatorship if Trump wins. So he's asked by Clinton Foundation donor Zero, well, what if you lose? How will you feel if you lose to Trump, staying in the race? And he said this.
I feel as long as I gave it my all and I did the goodest job as I know I can do.
Goodest.
That's what this is about. Look, George, think of it this way.
Yeah, I will think of it that way. So in addition to goodest.
Yeah. Is that our new word for the day?
But the real problem with that answer for Democrats is, wait a second, everything is on the line. And he's saying, as long as I did the best I could, if we lose, we lose. It's no big deal. It's just about him in this race. But, the country marshals on when, in point of fact, they've been saying, and he's been saying at their behest for the last 8 years, that Trump is the end of the republic. And they're saying it again now. And so everything is at stake. We're dangling on the precipice. We're going to lose all of our freedoms. He is Hitler. And Biden comes and says, well, if I lose, then as long as I did the best I could do, then
that's okay.
That's okay. But it's not okay. They're saying it's not okay. They've been saying it's not okay. He's been saying it's not okay. He inadvertently exposed the fraud of their entire campaign rationale, didn't he?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. I just want to get this in real quick, too. He thinks very highly of himself. The only way that he'll step out of the race, bow out, is if he gets a sign from God.
If the Lord Almighty came down and said, Joe, get out of the race, I'll get out of the race. The Lord Almighty's not coming down. These hypotheticals, George,
But it's not that hypothetical anymore. I grant that they have not requested the meeting, but it's been reported.
I've met with them. I've met with a lot of these people. I've talked with them regularly. I had an hour conversation with Akeem. I had more time with that than Jim Clyburn. I spent time with many hours off and on the last little bit with Chuck Schumer. It's not like I had all the governors. I
agree that the Lord Almighty is not going to come down, but if you are told reliably from your allies, from your friends and supporters in the Democratic Party, in the House and the Senate, that they're concerned you're going to lose the House and the Senate if you stay in, what will you do?
I'm not going to answer that question.
Right.
He's not going anywhere.
The political condition and then the medical condition. The medical condition. There's two complementary issues here, but right now it's again, you have 9 congressional Democrats who've come public saying he should step aside. Got a letter signed by 100 donors, some high-profile billionaires saying he should step aside, but there are other high-profile billionaires that saying we should stay the course. So as long as he can middle the issue, a handful of Democrats you've never heard of, it's just not going to be enough. The reporting we got from Brett Baer a week ago Friday was that, they were ready to move on him pretty quickly, and they would go public as necessary. But it's hard to orchestrate that in unison, and it's not happened. He essentially he's right, he essentially did get support from the governors after that meeting at the end of last week. And yes, there were some notable non-participants, but that's still something he can hang on to. Jim Clyburn and Pelosi are sort of slightly opening the door to the possibility, but they're not publicly demanding that he go. And so if you don't have the ability or the desire to really inflict the kind of damage on him that is required to remove him if he will not go gracefully, then you're not going to get him out. And that's the trick bag the Dems are in. In addition to that is, as a lot of them recognize who are middling the issue, I mean, what does Kamala get us? So we go with the idiot who doesn't have dementia and opposed to the idiot who does. We set her up for failure to get rid of her so we can reset the deck in 2028. But wait a second. We're saying it's the apocalypse if we lose. We can't lose now. We certainly can't lose Congress if we lose the White House. So, I mean, they have to be poring over the angles here and seeing which is the least worst option from the two bad options that they left themselves. And again, all of their own making. Phil in Maryville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hey, morning, guys. I just wanted to say there is no cold or flu that'll make any person that mentally ill. Anyway, that's all I got.
Thanks, Phil. Tony, Downers Grove.
Hey, Dan, we're focusing on, Biden's security, everything about Biden. Is he going to run? Who are they going to replace him with? And the problem is everything that he said, everything that he embellished, basically his party believes that he did. They support what he's done. It's the platform. And it doesn't matter who they insert. The party and the voters believe in what he's been doing.
Yeah, I understand, but that's not that's not going to be enough, is the point.
But the point is, it doesn't matter who they replace him with.
It does
It
matter.
does matter.
Of course it matters. It doesn't matter if, again, just to play out the hypothetical, it wouldn't matter if they replaced him with Michelle Obama as opposed to Kamala Harris. Of course it would matter. Different candidates bring different attributes and deficiencies. Of course it matters. When you're talking about races decided on the margins, and that's what we're talking about here. And by the way, something else too, and this is really what they need, but it's a problem because it sort of gives something Biden away around. These the Bloomberg Morning Consult polls that came out over the weekend that show Biden actually gaining in some battleground states. I'm not saying I believe him, but now this gives him something else. Wait a second, I'm up in Wisconsin now. I'm up in Michigan now, according to Bloomberg Morning Consult. So despite the bad night, despite that bad night that I had, people are looking at my record of accomplishment, and you're seeing me close the gap in some of the battleground states and actually move ahead in others, and so stay the course. It's a pretty good case that he can make if only he had somebody else other than himself to make it for him. All right, coming up at 6:06, we'll continue on this because Trump had a review of the situation, too, from a golf cart over the holiday weekend. We'll have that at 6:06.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott.
18 killed, over 84 wounded in shootings over the long July 4th holiday. A man arrested in a deadly Naperville stabbing, and a trooper recovering after being hit by a vehicle. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
More Democrats don't think President Biden should get 4 more years. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. They're all in the House as Congress returns this week, but the president keeps running for re-election despite concerns about his age and mental fitness, campaigning in Philadelphia.
Honest to God, have never more optimistic about America's future if we stick together.
But House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries convened top committee lawmakers to see how they feel about backing the president in the 2024 race. AP says Jerry Nadler of New York, Jim Himes of Connecticut, and Mark Takano of California all said the president should step aside.
Fox's Jill Nato. There are also reports Congressman Adam Smith and Joe Morrell, who are Democratic House committee leaders, also want the president to exit the race. Now, this week, President Biden hosts world leaders at a NATO summit in Washington. Helping Ukraine wage war will be a big topic. At least 20 people killed in Russian attacks today in several cities, including the capital.
A daylight bombardment of Kyiv. the biggest for months. Ukraine's largest children's hospital among the buildings hit. Kyiv Mayor Vitaly Klitschko says windows were smashed and panels ripped off. Parents holding babies seen sobbing in the street outside.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Hurricane Beryl making it a miserable morning along the Texas coast and made landfall a few hours ago between Corpus Christi and Galveston. Fox Weather's Britta Merwins in Surfside.
We're still being hit by this powerful right side of the storm with 90-plus mile-per-hour winds. And then the storm surge only getting deeper. In fact, high tide is not for another 2 hours. So the water level is only continuing to rise.
Boeing's accepted a plea deal with the federal government on a criminal fraud charge and will pay a fine related to deadly MAX jet crashes overseas in 2018 and 19 that killed 346 people. Some victims' families want a judge to reject that agreement. America's listening to Fox News.
70 degrees, cloudy skies at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago coming off an extremely violent, extended 4th of July weekend where at least 18 have been killed and more than 84 wounded. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Chicago Police Superintendent Snelling will hold a press conference addressing the outbreak of violence over the weekend. Meantime, Chicago's first responders say they are last when it comes to getting a contract, and on Saturday, they vented their frustrations at the downtown NASCAR race.
The mayor says constantly he's a pro-union mayor, that this is a pro-union city. It's not. Not only has he violated the agreement between us and the city 3 times that he just negotiated, but the firefighters have been out of contract for 3 years, and it's ridiculous.
Firefighters have been working without a new deal since 2021, and they also want the city to add 20 ambulances to its existing fleet. A state trooper continues to recover after being struck by a vehicle in Cook County. The trooper's squad car was parked over the weekend along I-90 near 75th Street while ISP was handling a previous crash. As the trooper was out of their squad car, a Mercedes struck the driver's side of the stopped vehicle, causing it to slam into the trooper. The driver, Demaya Harriet, was cited for the move-over law, Scott's Law, following too closely, and DUI. A LaSalle County man is dead following an accident involving illegal fireworks. LaSalle County Sheriff's Office says it happened on Friday. The victim found injured at the scene, transported to an area hospital where he later died. Cubs shut out the Angels 5-0 to win that 3-game series at Wrigley Field. Shota Imanaga selected to the National League All-Star Game. Meantime, the White Sox lost to the Marlins 7-4, and their starter Garrett Crochet was selected to the American League All-Star roster. Bulls have officially moved on from DeMar DeRozan. Bulls sent the All-Star forward to Sacramento in a sign-and-trade deal over the weekend. The news is a service of Blue Stars Security. Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you and your business. Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsSecurityLLC.com. We'll have a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dr. Sebastian Gorka says we have to put in the work.
They can't win this fair and square. I mean, they have to cheat so bigly. And what has President Trump said? Too big to rig. If we make sure that we are there and the ballots are counted by our side as well as theirs, that's how we win.
America First with Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. The Supreme Court spent this term building long-needed ramparts against government intrusion by the bureaucratic state. The court reinstated the 7th Amendment in common law cases brought by bureaucracies, removed a 40-year aberration in judicial review of executive branch power grabs, and put a stake through a dodge on due process. The Loper-Bright case ending the Chevron deference to bureaucrats on interpretations of ambiguous statutes and regulation got the most attention and ire from the left. However, rulings in Jarchezi, Corner Post, and Cargill all had the same thrust: Executive branch agencies can't make up their authority as they go along. Only Congress has the power to legislate, and only the judiciary has the authority to try common law cases and determine legal interpretations where Congress leaves gaps. Those who prefer technocracy to ordered self-governance have erupted in furious indignation. However, those who prefer the rule of law have good cause to celebrate this Supreme Court term and hope that future courts will remain firm.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating and, of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only 2 good things about aging: wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance cost you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
6:08. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update is service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecas.com. The Kennedy already stacking up inbound central to Montrose, 21 in and climbing into the Burns Circle interchange. Dan Ryan inbound 17, 95th into the Burns Circle. Still some closures from the NASCAR street race downtown, including along Michigan Avenue and DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some sun then turning cloudy. Thunderstorm in a couple of different spots today. High near 83. A thunderstorm in the area this evening, otherwise cloudy. Low tonight 68. Partly sunny. A thunderstorm in spots tomorrow. The high 81. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
70 at O'Hare. Next news 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So after his interview with Clinton Foundation Donor Zero on Friday, or at least that aired Friday, the big guy was back on the trail, showing he still got the gusto. In Wisconsin at a rally, he made it clear what his position is.
We had a little debate last week. Can't say it was my best performance. But ever since then, there's been a lot of speculation. What's Joe going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? What's he going to do? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again. Because despite that some folks don't seem to care who you voted for, well, guess what? They're trying to push me out of the race. No! Well, let me say this as clearly as I can. I'm staying in the race. I'll beat Donald Trump. I will beat him again in 2020. Well, by the way, we're going to do it again in 2024.
Yeah, he's going to beat him again in 2020, and he's going to beat him this year too. It's going to be a twofer. But that he's staying in the race. He's staying in the race. So that's what I said. The big question this week is if the effort that is afoot to gracefully escort him down the stairs to the exit doesn't work, do the Democrat socialists have the guts to execute whatever their out the window strategy is? Because this guy, he's full of vim and vigor, don't you know?
I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Yeah, let's do it. I mean, he's rocking the house. Rocking the house.
Ladies are taking their shirts off, throwing their numbers at him. He's ready to go. 312-642-5600, turkey.pro answer line.
Yeah. And then he followed that up with the stirring, inspirational July 4th comments, the sort of end-to-pay commentary you expect from the chief executive.
And by the way, I've been all over the world with you. I've been in and out of battles anyway. I know, like millions of Americans know, when you get knocked down, you get back up.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it again. All right, just like 2020. Okay. All right. Sure. You buying that? And I love that. You know, just all very tepid. Mike Scott referred to Senator Chris Murphy from Kentucky. From Connecticut, excuse me, Chris Murphy from Connecticut. You know, about the interview on Friday, everybody is still continuing to lie. They're just modifying their lies slightly. Listen to Chris Murphy.
Okay.
Leading light of the revolutionary left.
Voters do have questions. And personally, I love Joe Biden. I don't know that the interview on Friday night did enough to answer those questions. And so I think this week is going to be absolutely critical. I think the president needs to do more. I'm not advising this campaign, but if I were, I would probably suggest that the president get out there and do a town hall, that he do a press conference, that he show the country that he is still the old Joe Biden, one of the best retail politicians that this country has ever seen. President says he can do that. I trust that he can, and I think this week is going to be really critical for him to answer those remaining questions. And let's just be honest, I think there are still questions out there in the minds of many voters.
I trust he can. I trust he can. One of the great retail politicians, the lies that they tell and continue to tell.
But I don't want Joe Biden to drop out of the race, do you?
No, I don't. I mean,
keep him in.
I completely agree. And to Chris Murphy's point, he was out there. He got out there on July 4th and was there with Kamala. Then solidarity, them raising their hands in victory as they gaze into the sky at the fireworks, and then the after party.
And we give thanks to our Commander-in-Chief, the President of the United States, the extraordinary President of the United States, Joe Biden!
Ho, ho, ho.
Yeah.
What? Did he say ho?
Ho, 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 happy Independence Day. That's how you celebrate Independence Day.
That's awesome. Did you see the meme that was going around? It was Joe Biden, a picture of him holding a turkey saying, Happy 4th of July.
Right. Ho, 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 happy Independence Day.
Oh, my God.
Gabby in Schaumburg, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi, guys. Welcome back. I was hearing that song, I get knocked down, but I get up again. And I keep thinking, but he's the one who keeps knocking himself down. So they keep thinking they should change the lyrics to I just fall down, but I get up again.
Yeah, or more like the Med Alert commercial, right? I've fallen and I can't get up. That's sort of where he's at, actually. Thanks for the call, Gabby.
We could get him one of those hip bags, you know, that you strap on like an airbag. When you fall down, it blows up.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah. I got you one of those for your 50th.
Yeah, exactly. No, they've been very helpful. Yeah. Kelly, Grays Lake.
Yes, good morning, Dan and Amy. Biden said that Trump was yelling at him when Trump's microphone was turned off.
Yep.
Much of that debate was on split screen. I never once saw Trump yelling, and even if he was, Biden's microphone would have probably picked that up, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean,
it's another fabulous
thanks for the call, Kelly. There were moments where you could hear him sort of at the end trailing off as they cut the mic and they went to Joe, but then he had the floor. I mean, it's feeble. The excuses that are being offered are as feeble as the candidate and his flacks offering them. There's no question about that. You want to hear something really, really disgusting that really rankle you?
What?
Talking about the president's medical condition. And we've gotten a lot more information about that, too. The number of times a Parkinson's disease specialist visited the White House over the last several months, and some sort of armchair diagnoses from neurosurgeons that we brought last week. Alex Berenson has been platforming some of these experts talking about it looks like he has Parkinsonism and Parkinson-related dementia, and they talk about the symptoms and so forth.
Yeah.
And his inability, by the way, the one thing that he could do, and he was challenged to do by Stephanopoulos, but he won't, is take a cognitive test, independently administered cognitive test, get an all clear. He doesn't need to do it because he takes the cognitive test every day with all the decisions he needs to make. That's his cover story. But do something public that provides some evidence to support your claims. He won't do that. That's interesting. But if you want to hear something that really upset you.
You're killing me. What is it?
Really upset you?
What?
Even worse than all of the Dems on the Hill and their, modified lies.
Yeah.
It just looked like a bad night because my interaction with him was what I described in the book and what happened even subsequent to what I described in the book after I got out. He's very probing in his questions, very analytical, very calm about things. When you go in to brief him, Major, you better really know your topic because he's going to ask you very relevant questions. And he's very reflective on things and just doesn't jump out with conclusions or anything, but is very analytic. So my interactions with him, I have to say, have been very, very positive.
Did you see the debate?
I did.
Did anything about that, what you saw, medically alarm you?
I can't say. I think it would be inappropriate to say that, Major, because when you're just looking at someone on a one-shot basis, you just don't know what could happen. Did he have a bad cold? Did he take an antihistamine to make him, groggy or what have you? We don't know what went on. And I think it would be unfair and inappropriate to try and diagnose something from just a 90-minute clip.
The sainted Tony Fauci vouches for Biden. He may have taken an antihistamine. Really? That's what we saw, doctor? An antihistamine.
He's not a neurologist. Who cares what? I mean, they're sending out Dr. Fauci to support Biden and his condition.
I don't know if they sent him out or he's just doing it on his own volition while he's hawking his book. But there you go. There's another feather in Biden's cap to brandish on the trail. They asked Tony Fauci. He said, what I said, that got a bad night, could have been sick. That's what I was. I was sick and exhausted, but I still got it, folks. Don't you worry.
He's a liar who destroyed this country, and I don't care what he says. I mean, that makes me think even more that Biden's got some form of Parkinson's, dementia, or dementia-related Parkinson's, which is possible because one of the symptoms is speaking softly and then having stiff limbs, which we can clearly see. But to bring in Dr. Fauci, please. That's only going to hurt your cause.
Doug, Orland Park.
Thanks, guys. Love your show. I just see that all the fake ballots, if Biden doesn't stay in the race, what are they going to do? They're going to have to reprint those, and they're never going to be able to do it in this short amount of time. Thanks.
Next thing called. I mean, I think they're on the clock, but I think for the most part they've got the time to. I mean, I don't think there is going to be a process argument that's made if a major party replaces their candidate for cause, or Joe Biden announces because of whatever I'm not going to do this. I think it's going to be very difficult for states to say, well, we're not going to be able to get the replacement's name on the ballot in time. There may come a certain point in time where you'd have to do education in particular states to say when you see Joe Biden's name on the ballot, it's for whoever, then it's for, let's say, Kamala. It's actually for Kamala Harris. So just, you vote for the Democrat and it'll count for the Democrat who is actually the nominee now. But I don't think we're there yet. And I think, as I said, you're not going to get away with process arguments to make the necessary changes to the ballot if there's a reasonable period of time, which there is now. And I don't think you should. I think the name should be on the ballot. There's no reason that the government at the state level can't be a little bit more nimble to make accommodations for a late event in a presidential race. Bob, Buffalo Grove.
Good morning, Dan and Amy. Thanks for taking the call, and welcome back, Amy. Missed your comments on the debate last week. With regards to Stephanopoulos, I saw it twice, Friday, and then they replayed it again on Sunday. I thought he did a fair job. I thought he would give maybe Biden a pass, but he did, in one sense, not following up on some of Biden's responses. Like the new mantra is, Trump lies, 28 lies. What are these 28 lies? And you, Mr. President, don't you lie. How many times have you misstepped in all your lies with regards to the cognitive test? Trump had one. Where's your test? And why isn't the media forcing the issue? If you remember your history, didn't Trump have to take his test shortly after taking office because the media was really pressuring him to take one? Where's the media talking about you have to take a cognitive test, Joe?
Well, he doesn't have to do anything. The media pressure. Again, understand the media pressure that starts from a false premise that there's some sort of independent estate. They're part of the government's estate. They're the big government leftist party press corps. So Stephanopoulos' job was to do the party's bidding, which was to try to help ease Joe Biden out of the race on Friday night.
I agree 100%.
That's what he was doing. And they're not there yet for all the reasons we just said. Holman Jenkins had a good piece. Good piece in the Journal, even though he's much less sanguine about Trump than probably many of our listeners. But there's a more general statement that he made in his op-ed that speaks to Trump's staying power over the last 8 years. And he talks about all of the hoaxes and so forth, and the self-immolation of all of these institutions, and including federal agencies, including law enforcement agencies, including the Department of Justice. He writes, "A conclusion is hard to escape. America suffers from an incompetent leadership class. Its problem isn't ruthlessness, but softness. Its inability to deal with the world without a media that constantly lies to make it feel better about itself. This includes, as I've documented in this column, pretending the collusion episode never happened so as to avoid taking into account its effect on voters who might otherwise be won back to the Democratic cause. The incompetent leadership class, not ruthless, but soft. Inability to deal with the world without a media that constantly lies to make it feel better about itself." That's what we've been subject to for, the last 8 years and many decades previous that Trump tapped into. And his staying power is a direct result of the fact that that description of whatever the quote-unquote leadership class is, it even understates the case, really. Carol and Moments here on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Well, good morning, Dan and Amy, and welcome back, Amy. Now that Fauci is on board with the wonderful intellect of Joe Biden, I'm sure all the COVIDians are going to vote for him. And then after they let this bird flu loose, everybody will be wearing masks again. So, it's still going to be them against us. It's still going to be an ugly election here. So that's it.
Thanks for the call, Carol. George, Naperville.
Hey, Joe, where are you going with that dementia in your head?
All right, George.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Quick delivery service. What do you need delivered today?
Hi, I'm trying to work through a last-minute to-do list for my boss. Can you deliver a hard drive to the Loop in Chicago?
We can deliver that today.
Okay, can you deliver 20 boxes to a client in Rockford?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver 12 pallets of tile to our customer in Naperville?
We can deliver that today.
Can you deliver a large envelope to Northbrook?
We can deliver that today.
Oh my gosh, I think my water just broke. Can you...
We cannot deliver that.
Quick Delivery Service delivers your package no matter the size. More than just a messenger service, Quick Delivery Service is a messenger and trucking service that can also provide scheduled routes for your daily delivery or your air shipment. Trucks are equipped to handle the load and provide ground-level service for same-day delivery. The Quick Delivery Service team of safe, licensed professionals can provide quick door-to-door service for your special delivery. QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. We deliver that today. But we don't deliver this.
For over 10 years, the award-winning KWCC Construction has been building a better future locally and throughout the Midwest, constructing with detailed planning and execution, completing projects safely, timely, and with transparency. If you've ever visited the Wilder Park Promenade along the Riverwalk in Aurora or driven past the recently revitalized Copley Hospital, you're looking at the quality construction of KWCC. Maybe you've seen the adaptive reuse of 80 South River Street in downtown Aurora, which now includes residences and businesses that have revitalized the area. No matter the project, KWCC Construction offers services from indoors to outdoors, conception to completion. In fact, KWCC was recognized as 2022's Best Project in Landscape and Urban Development. Highly recommended. A general contracting company you can count on. That's KWCC. To request a proposal for your project, visit kwccinc.com. That's kwccinc.com.
Can you read this email for me?
Of course. Jeez, I wish they could do something for your eyesight.
Me too. But you heard what they said. There's nothing we can do.
When vision loss can't be corrected with glasses or surgery, and hope seems lost, turn to Spectrios Institute for Low Vision. Spectrios doctors specialize in the treatment of vision loss related to eye diseases, such as macular degeneration, glaucoma, and diabetic retinopathy. There is hope, supported by science with personalized rehabilitation plans, occupational therapies, and access technology at Spectrios. Talk to a patient service manager. They'll walk you through the program. Spectrios takes BCBS and Medicare insurance. They also have grants for qualifying patients and offer a Seeing is Believing children's outreach program. Go to spectrios.org, located in Wheaton in a building that says it all, the House of Hope. That's spectrios.org. Spectrios Institute, the head, heart, and eyes approach to better vision. Remember to keep Spectrios Institute, a 501c, in your estate or legacy planning.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Being active is important to me. As you get older, it gets a little harder every year. But if I had to get rid of all my other supplements, the one thing that I would continue to take in my life is Balance of Nature.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for a little over a year. It is important to have fruits and vegetables, and how convenient you got them in a capsule. Who doesn't love that? I'm going to continue to take it. Why stop something that makes you feel good?
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Croscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Croscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at croscominc.com. That's croscominc.com. Croscom, building trust for over 20 years.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The weekend body count is going up like the White Sox team ERA. Every time you turn around, it's gone up another. 103 people shot, 19 fatally. Now is what we're looking at. BLM Brandon has some prayers. We'll have some thoughts at 6:36.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
6:32 on AM 560. Hurricane Beryl beginning to batter Texas. Storm made landfall this morning just east of Matagorda, packing 80-mile-an-hour winds. Fox weather meteorologist Britta Merwin is in Surfside Beach, Texas.
It's intense. It's almost like needles are being pushed into the back of your legs because these water droplets, the rain itself, is being pushed so hard against your body that it really does cut against the fabric that you're wearing. And I'm actually wearing two outer layers. Obviously, I'm already drenched because it doesn't matter if it's waterproof. The power of the wind will actually drive the rain through your clothing, and then you're just sopping wet in it through the duration of the storm.
Right now, the eye is expected to track just to the west of Houston, southeast of College Station. More than 300,000 customers are without power as Hurricane Beryl moves north. President Biden hit the campaign trail in Pennsylvania on Sunday, speaking at a black church in Philadelphia.
Across the way in Delaware, I attended morning mass in my church and head to Sunday services at black churches, I said early on. I've always felt the power of your faith in good times and in tough times.
Biden also made a stop at his campaign headquarters in Philadelphia. French President Emmanuel Macron refuses the resignation of the country's prime minister, asking him to remain on temporarily as head of government after chaotic election results left the government entirely in limbo. Officials in Ukraine say a major Russian missile attack has killed at least 20, injuring more than 50. The attack hit a large children's hospital. NATO allies are set to gather in Washington, D.C. this week. A senior U.S. official says the alliance's 32 members will reaffirm Ukraine's future is in NATO. Chicago coming off an extremely violent, extended 4th of July weekend. At least 18 have been killed, nearly 100 wounded in shootings over the holiday weekend. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Chicago Police Superintendent Snelling will hold a press conference this morning to address the violence. Cubs shut out the Angels 5-0. White Sox lost to the Marlins 7-4. Blackhawks have given one of their first-round picks a long-term deal, signing blue liner Artem Levshunov to a 3-year entry-level contract that gives Levshunov the opportunity to compete for an actual spot on Chicago's roster during training camp. The news is a service of Croscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Croscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. CroscomPublicAdjusters.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Brandon Tatum says we've lost focus.
And it's the kind of stuff that they do at these schools today. They give you a trophy when you don't deserve it. Everybody gets a trophy. Everybody's great and excellent, and you're heard and you're seen and you're thought about. And look at diversity and inclusion and delusion. I mean, that stuff got to stop, man. We need to start really focusing and looking at our children and saying, are you getting a good education? The world want to know, can you get the job done?
The Officer Tatum Show, weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Scott Bartmus, co-founder of ESCO, a security and fire alarm services business, and a customer of Signature Bank. We work hard to give our customers peace of mind, so it's nice to know that while we have our customers' backs, partners like Signature Bank have ours. When COVID hit, there was a lot of uncertainty for many businesses, particularly surrounding the PPP loan program, with parameters and deadlines changing constantly. The executives from Signature Bank worked weekends alongside their staff, filling out and submitting applications to ensure they took care of us. That type of dedication is hard to find, but we found it with Signature Bank.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Call Signature Bank at 773-467-5600 or visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Being active is important to me. As you get older, it gets a little harder every year. But if I had to get rid of all my other supplements, the one thing that I would continue to take in my life is Balance of Nature.
I've been taking Balance of Nature for a little over a year. It is important to have fruits and vegetables, and how convenient you got them in a capsule. Who doesn't love that? I'm going to continue to take it. Why stop something that makes you feel good?
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited-time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hi, I'm Charlie Moon. I've been in the trading game for almost 20 years, and I just discovered the most powerful trading tool I've ever seen. So if you're trading stocks or options, then listen up. This new AI-powered trade finder can find you stocks to consider trading, which have had gains as high as 1,729% and have had nearly perfect win rates. It analyzes the entire stock market in seconds and pumps out a list of trades for you to consider every single morning. And the trades it finds can be potentially profitable regardless of which direction the market is moving. So if you want in on this action, listen closely. For a short amount of time, I'm opening up free access to some of these picks and giving you the chance to get top trade ideas from the AI Trade Finder every day for 100% free. Just text TRADE to 76626. Stop trying to find the right stocks to trade on your own. Just text TRADE to 76626 now and get access to the top trades our AI finds every single day. Text TRADE to 76626. Standard text and data rates may apply. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Text TRADE to 76626.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
6:39. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. It is a service of Mattress Firm. Spectacular savings are happening now at Mattress Firm's July 4th sale. The lowest price ever, a Sleepy Queen mattress for just $89.99. Upgrade and save and celebrate before it's too late. Offer ends Tuesday, in-store only while supplies last. Restrictions do apply. Wilmette, house fire, 10th and Sheridan Road being dealt with by authorities there. Delays as you travel on the Metra Southwest service inbound to Union Station. Trains near Orland Park struck a pedestrian, according to reports from Metra, and delays are up to 40 minutes. I-80, accident, right shoulder, car in the ditch, eastbound right as you approach the Tri-State Toll Road. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Sun and clouds with a chance of a thunderstorm. Humid today, high of 83. Currently 70 degrees. Your next news update is at 7, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Money Hour Radio Show, Saturday afternoons at 3. Brought to you by Pure Shale Financial Group at pureshalefinancial.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. 103 and 19. That's what I see. ABC 7 reporting 103 people shot, 19 dead this weekend. Could have been a lot more dead. A lot more shot, too. A lot of people missed. Mm-hmm. Those numbers are a moving target, like every resident of Chicago. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. As Mike Scott was reporting, BLM Brandon and Chief Snelling going to have a press conference today to offer their thoughts and prayers like they did online.
Yeah, they're going to address the violence that occurred during the holiday weekend.
They're going to offer their thoughts and prayers and say, we're working on it, we know what to do, and it's working, which is what they have said previously and what we've heard from administration after administration.
And they're also going to say, too, it is an extended weekend because the 4th of July fell in the middle of the week. That's why the numbers are up as well. I can just guarantee that's going to come out of their mouths.
Sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Don't care. It could have been 1,000 and 100, and it wouldn't change anything. It wouldn't change the attention that's paid to it. We'll talk about it because we actually do care. But the response from the general public, I will tell you, is basically, that's why I don't go to the city. And that's the sum total of the thought that's devoted to it. So and there's a reason for that, is because the people that are being most victimized are also most politically lobotomized. And until that changes, until there's a recognition that no one is coming to help you. Are you listening? Tell your friends on the west and south sides. No one is coming to help you, particularly those spending all of their time, like BLM Brandon, telling you how much they're going to help you. They're not going to help you. And they don't care. They don't care if you kill each other.
312-642-5600. Excuse me, turnkey.pro answer line.
And you can dispute that, and you can say, you don't know what's in their heart. Yeah, I don't. I don't know what's in their heart. But I see what they do, and I see what they don't do. I see what they say, which is indicative of their actual position. That's how I discern, and I don't know how else anybody else, how else you can discern where somebody is coming from. What they say and what they do, compare and contrast. Let me give an example of what I mean.
Okay.
One of the, among the 19 dead and 103 shot over the weekend, 3 people in Grand Crossing. There's one shooting, mass shooting, I guess you call it. Yeah. 2 women and an 8-year-old boy dead. And the story was it was some sort of revenge shooting. Okay. The alderman for the 31st Ward, Desmond Yancey. My heart bleeds for the community, which is a relatively quiet community, as isn't really used to it isn't really used to this sort of violence, and I pray it doesn't happen again.
She's in Grand Crossing, and she's saying that?
Desmond Yancey, my heart bleeds for the community, which is a relatively quiet community, and isn't really used to this sort of violence, and I pray it doesn't happen again. Grand Crossing neighborhood in 2024, 21 dead, 32 shot. Only Inglewood has more murders this year than Grand Crossing. In 2023, 32 dead, 107 shot.
Oh, my God.
So this is what I'm talking about. The lies, the truth in the lies they tell. And this is what I was getting to, actually, with the Biden situation. There is truth in the lies they tell. And the truth in the lies that the political ruling class in Chicago tell about violence is they're not sending anyone to help, and they don't care if you kill each other.
And then every so often an innocent victim's killed, like that 8-year-old boy you mentioned, and also 7-year-old Jamani. I don't know if you know about him, but He was killed, fatally shot while taking a cooking pot to a neighbor's home, and was caught in the crossfire of two gangbangers, shooting at each other, not knowing how to shooting, the gun sideways because they think that that's cool because they see it in the movies. Yeah. But nobody knows. Nobody cares. Does anybody know his last name is Jamal Rivera? No one cares. That happens.
Prosecutors have charged a man with shooting at a car occupied by two off-duty police officers on the west side. 18-year-old was on pretrial release for 2 felony gun cases in juvie court at the time. Of course he was. He is the 19th person accused of shooting, killing, or trying to shoot or kill someone in Chicago this year while on pretrial release. A woman accused of shooting a gun at 2 people after an argument on a River North street corner this week, arrested under very similar circumstances earlier this year, but prosecutors had refused to charge her with a felony back then. In January, this 31-year-old woman got in an argument with another woman waiting for an Uber outside Shark's Fish and Chicken on East 75th Street. The woman, who was with her 13-year-old daughter, said she knew the shooter because the shooter was dating her ex-boyfriend. The woman said argument escalated until the shooter pulled out a gun and fired shots toward her and her 13-year-old daughter. No injuries reported, only because she was a bad shot. No charges filed. Now charges have been filed because she shot at 2 other people in River North. You see what I mean about the lies they tell and what they indicate?
Back to that 7-year-old boy, Jamali Rivera.
What about him?
Well, the person who shot him cut off his monitor and failed to appear in court. So don't tell me the crime is down, and I don't want to hear the bull jive today that everything's fine.
9-time convicted felon on parole for robbing an AT&T store is accused of taking merchandise worth more than $13,000 during a robbery of a Sunglass Hut. He's also accused of stealing $2,000 worth of liquor from Walgreens in Streeterville. 9-time convicted felon. So, but don't worry. They got the Big Gulp killer, attempted killer in solitary. No, they got him on electronic monitoring, but you get the point. So I just wish there would be some honesty rather than the abject pandering. And let me tell you something that very few people will say, very few people, but I'm going to say it. If the black community, the black people of Chicago want to continue prostituting themselves to the Democrat Socialist Party, then you're saying the same thing, that you don't care about 103 shot and 19 dead, mostly whom are young black people, mostly young black men, and the conservative honky is your mortal enemy, so you've been propagandized to believe, and the people in charge are the ones who have your back, despite all of the evidence to the contrary. You continue prostituting yourself to the Democrat Socialist Party the way that Joe Biden did at that black church in Philadelphia, the way that Kamala Harris does on a daily basis, prostituting herself in more ways than just that, but I digress, then don't you can wail before the local network affiliate cameras all you want. Get used to doing that, because more of your family members will die. And the reaction is going to be, that's why I don't go to the city anymore. That's why I got out of the city. And if you can't get out, then you better take evasive action. Like I said before, if you're not going to take political action to change things, then you better take evasive action to survive the things that you won't confront.
You got to arm up. How's that anti-violence plan working for the mayor? How do you think he's going to spin that today? Violence interrupters, how's that going? We're throwing tens of thousands of tax dollars at these groups. Nothing's happening.
That's the prostituting I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm. It's an embarrassment.
It's papering over the body count. That's all it is. But if that's how people want to play it, then play it that way. I just wish there was somebody other than, me on our little radio program here that was willing to lay it straight to people, maybe get them riled up. Go ahead, get angry. Go ahead, castigate. Let's hash it out. Let's have it out rhetorically. But I mean, this just, this hamster wheel. Every weekend during the summer, it's the same thing, and it's different names reciting the same lines, and it's different families playing the victim and fainting before the cameras, and I mean, this is
enough.
This is what you're choosing. What you're choosing. This is how you're choosing to live. You own it.
There's only one radio show in Chicago talking about today's biggest stories and telling you what they really mean. That show is this one, Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer.
This is Ed Morrissey of HotAir.com for Town Hall. The Supreme Court spent this term building long-needed ramparts against government intrusion by the bureaucratic state. The court reinstated the Seventh Amendment in common law cases brought by bureaucracies, removed a 40-year aberration in judicial review of executive branch power grabs, and put a stake through a dodge on due process. The Loper-Bright case ending the Chevron deference to bureaucrats on interpretations of ambiguous statutes and regulation got the most attention and ire from the left. However, rulings in Jarchezi, Corner Post, and Cargill all had the same thrust. Executive branch agencies can't make up their authority as they go along. Only Congress has the power to legislate, and only the judiciary has the authority to try common law cases and determine legal interpretations where Congress leaves gaps. Those who prefer technocracy to ordered self-governance have erupted in furious indignation. However, those who prefer the rule of law have good cause to celebrate this Supreme Court term and hope that future courts will remain firm.
All right, is arthritic joint pain keeping you from doing the things you love? Well, bone-on-bone pain in your knees, hip, back, or shoulder, well, guess what? There are exciting new cellular therapies that can get you lasting relief. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in advanced regenerative medicine. I'm talking cutting-edge treatments that accelerate your own body's healing properties, revitalizing your joints so you can move again. And they've helped thousands of patients. So if you're living with chronic pain from arthritis or injury, steroid surgery and pain pills are no longer your only option. Learn how QC Kinetics can treat the pain, enhance your joints, restore more mobility, and give you long-term relief with no downtime. Now, the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics are ready to help you get your life back. So here's what you do. Call this number for a free consultation. They have Saturday appointments. They have new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. The number to call, 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955.
Ooh, I'm so ready for this weekend away with my girls.
Hey, hit the road? How about some free gas?
Free gas? How?
Try new Febreze car for some serious freshness and you can win gas for a full year. Visit Febreze.com to learn more.
Say less.
You may not win, but you're gonna have a fresh smelling whip.
Thanks, DJ Fresh. Now how about some music?
Hey, yo, this next one goes out to new Febreze car for giving you a chance to win free gas.
La 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 la.
No purchase necessary. Must be 18 to enter N73124 for rules and how to enter. Visit Febreze.com.
The wait is over. Dell Technologies Black Friday and July deals are live. Check out incredible savings on select laptops and more, like the XPS 15, powered by Intel Core processors. The XPS 15 brings you the perfect balance of power and portability, plus stellar visuals and immersive sound. When you shop online at Dell.com/deals, you'll have access to exceptional tech and electronics, plus free shipping on everything. Don't miss out on Black Friday and July savings at Dell.com/deals. That's Dell.com/deals.
One of the most important decisions you can make as a parent is where you send your kids to school. But these days, it's never been harder to know which school is best. Public schools have changed a lot, and you might be thinking about sending your child to a private Christian school. But you also know that private school can be expensive, and in this economy, you might think it's not an option. Well, think again. With halfpriceschools.com, you can purchase tuition vouchers for half the price of normal tuition for private schools. For nearly 10 years, halfpriceschools.com has helped families from all over Chicagoland make the dream of private school a reality. And that can be the reality for you and your child too. Just go to halfpriceschools.com, search for a private Christian school near you, and purchase a voucher. It's that easy. Visit halfpriceschools.com. That's halfpriceschools.com.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
Hi, I'm Donna, and I love taking Balance of Nature. It makes me feel sparkly every single day. It's just an amazing product.
I'm Rick. I'm in the best shape of my life. I play a lot of golf. I work out and ride my bike. I'm 63 and I can still almost hit a golf ball 300 yards. I mean, when I'm in the gym, I can do 90-pound dumbbells. That's what I did when I was young. As long as I'm living, I'll keep taking my Balance of Nature.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 50% off your first set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. Don't miss out. This offer is only available while supplies last. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this limited-time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, this prostituting that I'm talking about, prostituting yourself to the Democrat Socialist Party and their identitarian politics, which is what the black community in Chicago and most other metropolitan centers does. And they're not the only ones, but we're talking about in the context of public safety. They have more on the line because they're the primary group that is suffering from killing, violent crime. And you're falling in, you're going to fall in with what? Kamala Harris? And you're going to be patronized like Kamala Harris did at the BET Awards with that ghastly sketch that she did with Taraji Henson from Empire?
No, Taraji. Now, you know I wouldn't do that, especially not to a fellow bison. The real, ain't you? You know. So what's on your mind?
Oh, Madam VP Harris, I'm worried about the election. Women's reproductive rights are on the line.
No, they're not.
Our Supreme Court is on the line. Our basic freedoms are being tested, Madam VP. I know you've been traveling across the country. What are you hearing?
Yeah, girl, I'm out here in these streets. And let me tell you, you're right, Taraji. There is so much at stake in this moment. The majority of us believe in freedom and equality. But these extremists, as they say, they not like us.
They not.
There's a full-on attack on our fundamental freedoms. The freedom to vote.
Yep.
The freedom to love who you love. The freedom to be safe from gun violence. The freedom for a woman to make decisions about her own body, not having her government tell her what to do.
Yeah.
They not cringy.
They not like us. Girl. You should have heard Charles Thomas last week and that line. He loved that. I mean, it's just like I guess there's a running joke between him and his wife about that, but it is.
What, girl?
You're right. We not like Kamala. We have respect for the individual. We treat people like adults.
So is Kamala, was she black and raised in the hood?
So that's the difference. That's how we not like Kamala. And if you want to not be like Kamala, it may be something to consider if you just like to see things be a little bit better where you live.
And don't forget, Kamala is Jamaican. Her family owns slaves, and she's Indian. Okay, but she's down with the struggle, Dan. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:07, we'll talk about the election results in Western Europe, as well as Project 2025 with the Heritage Foundation's Stephen Bucci. That's 7:07.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
19 killed, nearly 100 wounded in shootings over the long holiday weekend. WIND Chicago News Time, 7.
President Biden under even more pressure to stop running for re-election. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. But as more Democrats worry about his age and mental fitness, the president keeps going, campaigning in Philadelphia.
There's more to do to deliver jobs and justice. There's more to do. But above all, we need to protect our rights the rights of all Americans.
Fox's Jillian Turner reports from the White House.
One Democrat reportedly telling Axios, quote, the expletive is going to hit the fan Monday when Congress returns. People are scared about their own races, but they're also worried about the country and about democracy. 4 more Democrats privately called for Biden to bow out during a listening session that happened with leader Hakeem Jeffries.
It's now up to at least 10 House Democrats calling for the president to exit the race. Tomorrow, the president hosts world leaders at a NATO summit. The war in Ukraine, a big topic. Russian missile attacks today killed at least 20 Ukrainians. Boeing has worked out a plea deal with the federal government.
The Justice Department says Boeing has agreed to plead guilty to criminal fraud and avoid a trial involving the 2 crashes of its 737 MAX jetliners that left 346 people dead. As part of the deal, Boeing must pay an additional $243.6 million fine and invest $455 million in its safety and compliance programs.
Fox's Sue Guzman. Some victims' families want a federal judge to reject that plea deal. Hurricane Beryl is moving deeper into Texas after coming ashore about 3 hours ago between Corpus Christi and Galveston. It's still a Category 1 storm.
And the heaviest rainfall now moving into the Houston metro. That's concerning because all of Houston, or most of it, is a lot of concrete, and the water has nowhere to go. Over close to 6 inches already.
Fox meteorologist Janice Dean Beryl did a lot of damage on Caribbean islands, blamed for at least 11 deaths. Excessive heat warnings remain in place. Arizona to Nevada, California up to Oregon and Washington state. Temperatures in some areas topping 110 degrees, even 120. America's listening to Fox News.
"70 degrees, and this morning we have partly cloudy skies at 7:02. On AM 560, The Answer, and good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago's coming off an extremely violent, extended 4th of July weekend. At least 18 have been killed, nearly 100 wounded in shootings over the long holiday weekend, numbers that far exceed last year. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Chicago Police Superintendent Snelling will hold a press conference this morning to address the violence. None of the mayor's intervention efforts worked to stem the violence, including forcing Chicago police brass to recall officers whose days off for the weekend were canceled. A Chicago pastor has been reported missing. Warren Beard's family says they've not heard from him since last Tuesday. It's believed Beard was last seen in Joliet. His wife Wanda spoke with reporters yesterday.
He comes home, he goes to work out, and he goes to church for the most part. That's what he does. And for him to not come home, he's never done that in all the years. We've been married 16 years.
He was visiting a friend in Joliet, according to his wife, who said she expected him home early Tuesday night.
He was there with a friend of his. But other than that, we don't know exactly how many people were in the house. We know that it was more. It wasn't just him. There were other people in the house.
Loved ones have been searching throughout the weekend, and they will hold an event today at his church in Chicago. A LaSalle County man is dead following an accident involving illegal fireworks that happened on Friday last week in Ottawa. The victim found injured at the scene, transported to an area hospital where he later died. An investigation is ongoing. Northwestern College, located in the south suburbs, has abruptly shut down over the weekend after 122 years in operation. Oak Lawn School made the announcement that it was shut down and closed its doors. The decision was made because of financial difficulty. Cubs over the Angels 5-0, and Shota Imanaga named to the All-Star team, while starting pitcher Garrett Crochet was selected to the AL All-Star roster. His White Sox lost to the Marlins 7-4. The news, a service of Ingrace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard on Sunday morning at 6:30, right here on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager explains today's environmentalist.
The environmentalist movement is overwhelmingly composed of people who want to destroy civilization as we know it. whether they want to because they think that that's how it will be saved, or whether they just have a loathing of the freedom you have if you have a car.
The Dennis Prager Show, weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating and, of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
Are you turning 65 and thinking about Medicare? Or are you over 65 and haven't enrolled yet because you still have coverage at work? Either way, Medicare done correctly will be the best health insurance you will ever have. Imagine having an annual deductible of only $240. There are only two good things about aging, wisdom and Medicare. But to navigate the Medicare maze properly, you need a mentor. Best part, my guidance cost you nothing. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Medicare, then you need a local expert on your side, your own health insurance mentor. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than a decade. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. That's 630-674-1551.
71 degrees at 7:07. Let's get an update on the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. The Kennedy settling in at 45 this morning. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson right now stop and go Harlem to Kedzie. And it is 34 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, portions remain shut down southbound between Randolph and 18th. Cleanup continues from that NASCAR street race. I-80 accident right shoulder. It's eastbound right at the Tri-State. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some sun then turning cloudy. Thunderstorm in a couple of different spots today. The high near 83. A thunderstorm in the area this evening, otherwise cloudy. Low tonight 68. Partly sunny. A thunderstorm in spots tomorrow. The high 81. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
71 at O'Hare. Your next news update 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
This hourly segment brought to you by Unleash Your Wealth with Raj Shah and Rick Borick this Saturday at 7 a.m. and 2 p.m. Learn more at scwealthadvisors.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy on Friday night with during his interview with Clinton Foundation donor Zero. The big guy was asked about submitting to an independent medical evaluation, cognitive test, or some other independent medical evaluation that would speak to his cognitive capacity at present. And this is how that exchange went.
Have you had a full neurological and cognitive evaluation?
I get a full neurological test every day with me. And I've had a full physical. I had, I've been at Walter Reed for my physicals. I mean, yes. The answer is
I know your doctor said he consulted with a neurologist. I guess I'm asking a slightly different question. Have you had the specific cognitive tests, and have you had a neurologist, a specialist, do an examination?
no one said I had to. No one said, they said I'm good.
Would you be willing to undergo an independent medical evaluation that included neurological and cognitive tests and release the results to the American people?
Look, I have a cognitive test every single day. Every day I have that test. Everything I do. You know, not only am I campaigning, but I'm running the world. And that's not how it sounds like hyperbole. But we are the essential nation in the world. I don't know if I was right.
He's running the world. He created NATO. Yeah. Okay.
He does it all.
Last week, we spoke with Stephen Bucci about this being a national security issue, the president's capacity, the commander-in-chief's capacity. And one wonders at this point, particularly with members of his own party calling for him to step aside, where are his cabinet secretaries, particularly those with national security responsibilities, to speak to their confidence in the commander-in-chief? Do we have a Captain Queeg situation, I guess is my question. For more on this, we're going to put that to our friend Stephen Bucci, who we talked to last week about this very topic. Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. He is a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies at present. Stephen, a Captain Queeg situation, does somebody have to say something about the chief?
Well, you know, really the president, with regard to his cabinet officers, is kind of in a Captain Queeg situation all the time, even if the president is good to go. So I think expecting, you know, Lloyd Austin or Tony Blinken to step forward and say, oh, no, the boss is losing it, you know, we need to change things around, is a pretty long stretch. I mean, the 25th Amendment is there specifically for this case, but these guys are all serving at the pleasure of the president. That's the way the system works.
No, I get it, but they're serving the country, and the question. I mean, I know you know, I don't need to lecture you about serving the country, but I guess my point is to say, whether publicly or privately, if you were DOD, if you were the DOD secretary, would you pull him aside and say, look, we have to do something to assure the troops that the commander-in-chief has his faculties, and so I'm imploring you, Mr. President, to do this independent neurological evaluation and go wherever the diagnosis leads?
I think they should. Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at it as a citizen, you know, with some background in the subject area, 100% that's what should happen. Will it happen? I don't have any confidence whatsoever, because if you listen to Biden, you know, talking to Stephanopoulos, he really doesn't understand how bad his capacity is. He really believes he is perfectly fine, because after all, he's had people look at him and say, yeah, boss, thumbs up, you're good to go. You know, his wife, a person he trusts since she was, you know, a young teenager, is telling him, no, you're good, Joe. You're such a good boy. You answered all the questions.
Right.
Didn't say whether he answered them right or not. He just answered them all. But
once a babysitter, always a babysitter, I guess.
I mean, so condescending.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, it offended my wife as a wife, by the way, to listen to her talk to him like that. But it's, you know, if that's his standard, that's the cocoon around him, even if a Lloyd Austin or Tony Blinken came to him and implored him, as you suggest, I don't think he would believe him. You know, if anything, he'd probably fire him. And think, no, they don't know what they're talking about. I've got this under control. Yeah, as you said, you know, I created NATO. I'm the one who made NATO strong.
Though,
decade is he talking about?
Though, if somebody like Austin came to him and said that, and he turned around and fired him, I mean, he would essentially be undermining his own ability to stay in the race. That would create a firestorm, especially if an outgoing secretary. I asked him to do this on behalf of the country. He said no. I mean, I know this is unlikely scenario, but I'm just playing this out in terms of responsibility, because I think, the American people look at this leadership class with great suspicion, as well they should, and don't see anybody that will sort of ever step up and do the right thing except as an ultimate last resort.
Yeah, and with this group, I'm not sure it even get to be a last resort. They are so enamored with holding on to power, not just Biden, but all of the people he's put around himself. And actually, I don't think he put them around himself. There's other people said, oh, no, this is who you should put in these positions, Joe. The fact that he has people in those executive departments who, prior to doing that, were paid agents of Iran. Who does that? And then once it's revealed publicly, if you said, well, he didn't know that, who leaves them there? So Biden is not running the show here. I don't know who is. Obviously Jill is doing it right around him, but who is making the political decisions is an unknown to all of us out here in the public. But it's scary, and it's clear. He doesn't need to take a cognitive test. He is not well. The man can't walk well. He stands like somebody who has, Parkinson's or some other sort of neurological problem. It's not just his age. The policies that he has approved are so bad that, to use the thing, Ray Charles could see that it's a problem. But he thinks he's just hitting it out of the park. That's
Right.
kind of prima facie evidence that he is not all there.
Well, I mean, his 36% approval rating, and I don't think we've ever seen a president get reelected with those kind of numbers. But what do you think Putin and other leaders throughout the world are making of all this?
At the very least, they're sitting there kind of chuckling and shaking their heads going, man, this is just amazing. We knew the Americans had internal issues, but we didn't think they'd go this bad. And some of them might be holding back because they can't believe it. They're thinking, God, this guy can't be this bad. They would never leave him in there. This is the thing, like the Germans did in World War II. Oh, they couldn't fire Patton. He's their best combat general. They'd never pull him out of command. This has got to be a trick. And they don't understand. We do some loony things sometimes. But in this case, our system is driving us to really appear weak and feckless to our adversaries and to our allies and friends. And that is a very, very dangerous situation for the United States of America.
Before we get too full of ourselves, we have the results in from Western Europe, and it was expected that Labour was going to gain control in England, which of course happened, although with a relatively smaller percentage of the vote than in previous change elections. So it was more of a rejection of big government, quote unquote, conservatism, which wasn't conservatism, and the impact of open borders in Britain that undermined the competence argument for conservatives. So this was expected, but it was more a function of conservatives not governing conservatively. The flip side, in France, you had essentially Macron throw in with the radical left, even more. I mean, that's sort of what does the radical left look like if Macron's not part of it? But and circumvent populist nationalist conservatives from gaining majority there. So, in other words, in both France and England, you have leftist victories.
Yeah, you're right. There is, and that's concerning, especially since it seemed like the world was moving in the opposite direction, that they had been rejecting the failed policies of the left. Unfortunately, in both cases, as you point out, the conservative side in England was weak. It wasn't a strong conservative. They definitely didn't have Margaret Thatcher in charge. And on the other end, the government that was in power with Macron is is a leftist also, and he's manipulated the election cycle to drive the vote further to the left, one, for his own survival, but he's got a deal with the devil, because now he's got to go with the radicals that are even further to the left than he is. So this may be not a wave back towards the radical left, but more of a dying gasp as the right sort of tunes up and people go, come on. I can't believe that the people in the UK are going to buy off on the policies that the Liberal Party want to pursue, like returning to the EU, opening up the borders even further. The French are not happy with the idea of opening their borders even to a larger degree than they have been. So are we going to see very quickly a snap back in the other direction? I don't know.
Well,
I'm not ready to buy off that the left has won and England and France are lost.
Yeah, but the problem is, how bad are things before there is a corrective action taken? So, you saw in France the radical leftists out in the streets with banners and so forth, essentially saying that the open borders policy was victorious, that migrants are indelibly French, and so this will continue.
Yeah, that's what the left wants to do, but I'm not sure. It may go on for a little while, but I think you're going to see some response to that that's not going to be pretty, and may drive things back the other way. I don't know. Maybe I'm being Pollyanna, and you're correct, but I'm not quite ready to throw in the towel yet.
Did you see the celebrations? I'm looking at it right now. There's one French flag, and it's all Palestinian flags.
Oh yeah, I know. It looks like an American campus now.
Yeah, it does. It's a good analogy.
One big college campus. Now, I wanted to get something else too before we let you go, since the Heritage Foundation has been impugned. Project 2025. This is one of these boogeymen that the left is starting to erect with more frequency. Say it's not only Trump Hitler, but then Trump Hitler's battle plan is Project 2025, and that's going to be the end of our republic. This is, for example, MSNBC hysteric Joy Reid.
Y'all just tell me who the nominee is going to be. Let me know when you guys are finished fighting amongst yourselves who I got to vote for in November to keep Hitler out the White House. That's all I want to know. Who I got to vote for to keep Hitler out the White House. Y'all do your thing. Play in traffic all you want in front of these Republicans, acting a fool in front of these people instead of privately declaring your stuff. But don't text me no more, because I'm not taking no more of these texts. Just let me know when you guys are finished figuring it out, Democrats, because I know y'all the freak out people. Go ahead and freak out, have your conversation, and then let me know who I got to vote for to keep Hitler out the White House. That's it. I'm done. Oh, and by the way, if it's Biden in a coma, I'm going to vote for Biden in a coma. I don't even really particularly like the guy. A lot of his policies, don't like him. He's not Donald Trump, right? Yeah. Hitler, White House. We keeping him out. Keeping Project 2025 out. That's all I care about. Up and down the ballot, from the rooter to the tutor.
Project 2025 out. That's the moral imperative, Stephen.
Yeah, it's really interesting to listen to people twist the truth. And I'm guessing probably not 1 in 100 of them have read anything of the Project 2025, any of the documents, anything it says. They just echo each other. One person says something hysterical, and then the rest of them just join in. I've seen several summaries of 2025 written by people on the left, and I'm looking at it going, you know what? That's not anything that is said in Project 2025. The first thing they all say is this was the map to get Trump back in the White House and how he's going to solidify his power. Well, as President Trump said himself, he's actually had nothing to do with Project 2025. This is
it's all made up.
Yeah, that mirrors what was done prior to President Reagan being elected, where a group of conservatives got together. back then it was Heritage kind of operating alone. Now it's Heritage with the much wider and frankly diverse parts of the conservative movement, a lot of different folks involved in it that are put this together to enable any conservative president that came in, regardless of who it was, because they started putting this together before we even knew for sure if Trump was actually going to run. And, you know, so that's lie number one. The other lies is, oh, we're doing it just to, you know, get rid of all of our enemies. Well, you know, frankly, the last Trump administration, one of the weaknesses was their personnel policies, who they were able to bring in, how they were prepared. And this is a good faith effort, which I can't believe anybody sees it as nefarious, to train people, to prepare people, to give lists of good, qualified candidates for the multitude of jobs that need to be filled in any presidential administration. Does it have some things like get rid of the Department of Education? Yeah, it does. Heritage has been saying that for 40 years.
Right.
So that's not, you know, I mean, since about the day they created it, they've been trying to get rid of it. So there are some things like that. There are some calls to clean up the administrative state, these unelected officials that decide things outside legislation, outside court cases. That needs to be addressed and fixed, because those places are supposed to be run by people who are appointed by the President of the United States, whoever the people choose.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah,
now,
but it's
that's
all
not
scare
what's
tactics.
Yeah,
I mean,
right,
this project, project
so
2025.
the bottom line is, if you don't keep Biden's personnel and his policies, then you're channeling Mein Kampf. I mean, that's basically the left's argument. One last thing before that, the new quote unquote moderate president of Iran, does that change anything? I know he's talking about being more conciliatory with the West and so on and so forth, but does that change anything in terms of the West's and America's specifically relationship with Iran?
Absolutely not. You know, calling somebody a moderate in the power structure of Iran is kind of ludicrous anyway. Is this guy a little bit more moderate than the most crazy Ayatollahs? Yeah, probably. He's theoretically a secular guy, a doctor. One thinks about Dr. Mengele when he, you know, was in charge of the health department, though. I'm not really sure about that. But no, he is not going to change anything. The president really doesn't set policies in Iran. They just execute them. And for the president, it's really more the domestic policies than anything else. The last president was the guy who was known for crushing dissent and protests. I don't think this guy's going to do anything differently. The Ayatollah, the supreme leader, is still the guy in charge, enabled by the really radical people in the IRGC Quds Force. So, nice thing to call him that. It's not going to change anything in that country or our relationship with them.
Stephen Bucci served America for 3 decades as an Army Special Forces officer and top Pentagon official. He is a visiting fellow in the Heritage Foundation's Allison Center for Foreign Policy Studies now. Stephen Bucci, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
It's my pleasure. Talk to you guys next week.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is the morning show more Chicago radio listeners are choosing. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his 2 business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Vestuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
My name is Dr. Dave Anspaugh. I have co-authored a wellness textbook, which was the #1 bestseller. And I do about anything that I want to do. I still take care of my own lawn, and I go to the health club. We'll go 2-3 miles on the treadmill there. I've been taking Balance of Nature about 6 years. It has convinced me that it's a great product. I enjoy playing golf. I will go out there and go down to the green and go back and do it once or twice more. Seems like being retired, I've got more going on than I did when I was actually working. I stay active. You know, I do about anything I want to do. As long as I'm breathing the air, I'm going to be taking Balance of Nature.
Splash into your summer with Balance of Nature's summer savings. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 50% off your first set as a preferred customer with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. While supplies last, go to balanceofnature.com and get this limited time offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Would you go to court without a lawyer when the other guy is lawyered up? Or are you going to go it alone and learn law and procedure as you go? When you have an insurance claim for your home or business, it's the same thing.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company.
Insurance companies will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them. Not you.
If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%, and we could do the same for you. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom. Building trust for over 20 years.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
The good times continue to roll, at least if you're in long-duration, big-cap tech stocks. We'll talk money and markets with Jim Perry at 7:37.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
71 degrees at 7:32 on AM 560, The Answer. Topping our news this morning, Hurricane Beryl battering Texas. The storm making landfall this morning just east of Matagorda. Storm packing sustained winds of 80 miles an hour, gusts up to 90 miles an hour. The storm has already killed 11 in the Caribbean basin. President Biden hit the campaign trail in Pennsylvania on Sunday, speaking at a black church in Philadelphia.
Across the way in Delaware, I attended morning mass in my church and head to Sunday services at black churches, as I said early on. I've always felt the power of your faith in good times and in tough times.
Biden also made a stop at his campaign headquarters in Philadelphia. Officials in Ukraine say a major Russian missile attack has killed at least 20 people and injured more than 50 across the country. One missile struck a large children's hospital in the Ukrainian capital. Chicago coming off an extremely violent weekend. Police say at least 19 have been killed, nearly 100 wounded in shootings over the extended July 4th holiday. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Chicago Police Superintendent Snelling will hold a press conference this morning. Meantime, Chicago's first responders say they are last when it comes to getting a contract, and they vented their frustrations over the weekend at the NASCAR race.
The mayor says constantly he's a pro-union mayor, that this is a pro-union city. It's not. Not only has he violated the agreement between us and the city 3 times that he just negotiated, but the firefighters have been out of contract for 3 years, and it's ridiculous.
Several hundred Chicago police officers joined FOP President John Catanzara, uniting with firefighters and paramedics to march down Michigan Avenue. A state trooper continues to recover today after being struck by a vehicle in Cook County. The trooper's squad car was hit over the weekend by another car, a Mercedes, causing it to slam into the trooper. The driver of that Mercedes, Demaya Harriet, was cited for Scott's Law, following too closely, and DUI. A man remains in custody, all following a deadly stabbing in Naperville. Officers were called to a home over the weekend in the 2500 block of Saddlebrook Drive. One man has been arrested, as we said. So far, no charges have been announced. Cubs blanked the Angels 5-0. White Sox lost to the Marlins 7-4. Alex Bowman wins the Chicago NASCAR race. Quad Cities, David Thompson wins the 2024 John Deere Classic at TPC Deere Run. The news service of Crosscom Public Adjusters. If your home or business has an insurance claim, Crosscom will help you get what you need and have coming to you. They've helped thousands. CrosscomPublicAdjusters.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Dennis Prager can see the real hatred.
It's so obvious that it's hatred of Israel that is animating. There is so much more vast killings of innocents right now in West Africa. 60,000 Christians killed by Muslim terrorists since 2000. Any colleges taken over on their behalf?
The Dennis Prager Show. Weekdays at 11, right before Charlie Kirk at 1 on AM 560. The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his two business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Destuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you. You've watched the news. Rising crime has been affecting our everyday lives in Illinois more and more these days. Blue Star Security can protect you, your business, or your place of worship. Blue Star Security is the only security company in Chicago with over 900 off-duty police officers, all W-2 employees.
I'm Anthony Varchetto, president of Blue Star Security and a 20-year law enforcement veteran. The Blue Star team is made up of over 900 state-certified active and retired law enforcement professionals. We serve businesses and private organizations with supply chain and special event security and also protect our loved ones at places of worship and schools all across the Chicagoland area. Blue Star Security's technology allows mobilization of off-duty officers quickly and efficiently. Our primary mission is to provide unparalleled protective services for each assignment with integrity while maintaining our commitment to community service in the Chicagoland area.
Visit online to schedule a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityllc.com. That's bluestarsecurityllc.com.
Suburban Welding and Steel is your local welding, fabricating, and repair shop where service and quality is number one. Their dedicated team of experts can repair a job on site or in their shop located in Franklin Park. They have the machinery needed to get your project completed with the craftsmanship and precision so you can get back to business. Suburban Welding and Steel services more than just the manufacturing industry. They also service the food industry, heavy equipment, trucking, airports, and railroads. Walk-ins are also welcome, so if you need it welded, repaired, fabricated, or modified, Suburban Welding and Steel will do the laser cutting, machining, forming, and plate rolling for you, or they have the materials you need in stock and ready for the purchase. And if you know a hardworking person looking for a career in the trade, Suburban Welding and Steel is looking to add to their team of experts. Visit suburbanweldingandsteel.com to see the full story on what they can do for you. SuburbanWeldingandSteel.com.
Don't let a cold, sinus infection, or allergies ruin your day. Breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier with Navage. Visit Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or a store near you.
7:39, a check of the roads, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Windy City Safes. What are you doing to keep your most prized possessions safe? Windy City Safes is Chicagoland's only Liberty Safe dealer. With Liberty Safes, you're not just getting a safe, you're getting peace of mind. Visit the Niles showroom, call 224-LOCKBOX, or online, WindyCitySafes.com. New Lenox Joliet Highway has just been closed, east and westbound between Prairie and Northgate, due to that Metra Southwest service incident involving a pedestrian. I-94 in northwest Indiana, Porter County, 2 right lanes remain blocked due to a much earlier truck fire. Tri-State, southbound lanes, right on the off-ramp to the inbound Ike, there's an accident in the right lane, right in the middle of that messy construction zone. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Cloudy to partly sunny through the morning, a chance of a pop-up afternoon thunderstorm. Currently, we have 70 degrees and cloudy skies at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 8, and Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba, Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. To diagnose the economic outlook for America, you have to certainly take into account the political landscape. To help us understand where things are, we had Donald Trump taking a break on the golf course to speak to some friends. And his review of the situation with the other side was captured on smartphone and then broadcast for the world to enjoy. Here's Trump with Barron in tow. Wonder how good a player Barron is.
Yeah, it's 6'10".
Wonder if he could beat Joe Biden in a driving contest. Trump is probably practicing for that driving contest, and he's going to have to carry his own bag, too, we understand. Here's Trump.
You gave me so much. How did I do with the debate the other night? Oh, amazing. He kicked that old broken down pile of crap. Yeah. It's a bad guy. He just quit, you know. He's quitting the race. Is that right? Yep, I got him out of the race. And that means we have Kamala. I think she's going to be better. She's so bad. She's so pathetic. It's so amazing. It's just so bad. So, Just can't imagine. but can you imagine that guy dealing with Putin and the president of China, who's a fierce person? He's a fierce man, a very tough guy. And they see him. They can't. But they just announced he's probably quitting.
Good.
Okay?
Yeah, that's amazing.
Just keep knocking him out, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow. How do you really feel about her, huh?
It's a Trump hot take. It almost comes across as like staged because it's just so off the cuff and basically, you know, as in Trump vernacular, the sort of the common lingo, he is saying what a majority of the country believes based on the polling, that Biden is politically comatose and Kamala is terrible. So they're in a corner. By the way, it just reminds me like a personal indulgence. Remember that interview that Trump did with Tucker a while back, in which he diagnosed Kamala's way of communicating. I thought this was fun. It'd be fun for him to bring this back again on a debate stage, whether it's Joe on September 10th or Kamala.
So back to Biden, I'm interested. So you think he's failing? He obviously is failing. I think it's clear to everybody. But that would make Kamala Harris the candidate?
Well, not really. I mean, I guess they'd have maybe a free-for-all. A lot of people say she has to remain for certain reasons the candidate. She has to. I don't think that's true, actually. I don't think that other people would stand for it. She has some bad moments. Her moments are almost as bad as his. I think his are worse, actually.
Yeah.
But
She seems pretty senile too.
she speaks in rhyme. And, it's weird. It's weird. But she has bad moments. And
In rhyme? What do you?
Well, the way she talks, the bus will go here and then the bus will go there because that's what buses do. And it's weird. The whole thing is weird.
It is weird.
Oh, I just cackled like her, but no, that's great. That's true.
Yeah.
Things are the way they are because they are.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean,
Deep Thoughts with Kamala Harris.
the Kamala Greatest Hits album just continues to expand. For more on the economic impact of the political tumult, James Perry, founder, CIO, Perry International Capital Partners, joins us. Jim, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning.
So this volatility that has spiked since the debate from a week ago Thursday doesn't seem to be impacting the market very much because I guess as long as those, as you call them, long-duration, big-cap tech stocks are churning, then all is right on Wall Street.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, history will show you that things like outbreaks of war and political upheaval generally aren't really good events to trade the market or to invest or and think about getting into or out of the market because they tend to kind of stabilize over time. But as you know, you've said it many times, and it feels like now this whole demise of the presidency here is not good for the country. I mean, it doesn't really matter what your political beliefs are, but the fact is that when you've got, the leader of the free world who is clearly in trouble here, it gives a lot of ammunition to friend and foe alike, and it's disconcerting to me as an investor. I'm not a political expert like you are, and many people are, but it just feels like for some reason the market's kind of just holding its breath, waiting for all of this to go away.
And so, I mean, but I mean, is the essential belief that as long as Nvidia is all right, it doesn't matter if Biden is?
Say that again?
As long as Nvidia is all right, it doesn't matter if Biden is? Is that basically the attitude?
Well, I mean, that's kind of a funny way to put it, but, this Mag 7 group of stocks really is a phenomenal story, and a lot of investors really are diving into the narrative. And once investors do that, the problem is that they tend to overlook fundamentals and just believe that AI is going to change the world. And maybe it's the same thing with politics. That, don't worry, the White House is always going to be here, so let's just move on. I think everybody just wants to sort of shove it under a carpet or something like that.
Well, how are the European... Oh, sorry, Dan, go ahead.
Well, we were just talking, I mean, that's where I was going. We were just talking with Stephen Bucci about the elections in France and the UK. So
Right.
those elections, so does that mean with the leftists winning in both countries, does that mean more money flows out of Europe and into the U.S.?
The flows from Europe to the U.S. have been very strong. I think investors recognize that pretty much the same thing that people here do. I wrote my weekly strategy report last night, and my main point on what's going on in Europe is that, it seems to me, and again, not being a political, expert on this sort of stuff, but the voters are tired of the status quo, which is just an increased level of what can only be described as statism. I mean, it's the same problems that exist here exist in France and England and Germany and really in China and Japan too. Just excessive indebtedness and deficit spending. The people who pay for it are the voters, and people are fed up because their quality of life is going down because they cannot keep up with the amount of money that the government's spending, and the governments are going to have to tax them more. So.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, right, and it's interesting because it's sort of belied by the results in England and France. But if you look a little bit below the surface, as we were talking about, it was a rejection of sclerotic conservative governance that was not conservative in Britain. And it was some sleight of hand politically by Macron and the ruling party in France to align with the radical left to forestall more essentially conservative gains in France. So it was
correct.
You know, and that's politics. But there was some maneuvering that was done in France that belies sort of the revolt that you're talking about of people not being able to make ends meet or struggling to.
That's exactly right. I mean, the Mexican leadership went to the left, but it was still a revolt against the state, right? It was people just saying, hey, this isn't working. It's corrupt. We're getting too many lies. We're not getting the truth. Germany, same thing. UK. And then here, right? I mean, when you look at prices here and you look at what the government spends its money on, it really begs the question, how are they going to turn this thing around? I mean, we're talking about $35 trillion worth of national debt now, right? I mean, that's an enormous number. It was 27, this time before the last election, right? So we're talking about another $7-8 trillion of national debt. And I think that if you look at where it's spent, you kind of wonder, how's it ever going to not keep rising? That's the biggest problem. And the French people feel that way too, as do the Japanese and the Chinese. So it's just big government gone, run amok.
Well, we're going to see inflation data this week. We're also going to start getting corporate earnings by week's end. What can we anticipate there?
I think the whole market is just chomping at the bit for lower rates here. They priced in about 6 or 8 cuts last year at this time. We've gotten none. The Fed last raised its rate in July of 23, right? So everybody thought that with these rate cuts coming off the table, the stock market would be coming down, and it hasn't. So the market's doing something that nobody really expected it to do, as is the economy, right? And I think one of the reasons is, you look at these inflation numbers, and I wrote a little portion about it. Madame Lagarde was in Sintra, Portugal last week, and she said, I don't mean to sound egotistical, but we're doing a great job of getting inflation down, And I kind of went, wow, man, that's really a great way for governments to look at it, but it doesn't feel that way for people, right? I mean, disinflation is not deflation, and it's really nothing to be proud of. And prices are still going up, Disinflation means prices are still rising. And if a government official says inflation is going down, that doesn't really mean prices are going down. It means that the speed at which the prices are going up is decreasing, right? And there's a big disconnect between what the government and even Wall Street economists say about prices and how people really feel about them. And Amy, you and I have talked about this over the years here, but food prices in the country are not up 25% in 4 years. They're up more like 100.
Right.
And they're not going down. They've stopped rising as much as they were. But the fact is that, if you really look at the aggregate price increases in the economy for the prices of things that people have to pay for, I mean, they're up at least 30% from 4 years ago, and they're not going down. A 3% inflation rate or a 3.3% inflation rate means that prices are still rising, and people are furious.
That's true. I'm just going to push back a little because I've noticed something at Mariano's. They have these pre-ordered meals that you buy, and they were $9.99 forever, and then after COVID, it went up to $13.99. I went there last week, and it was back to $9.99. Is President Biden pressuring grocery store owners to lower prices on certain items so that he looks good, so that he could get reelected?
I think the White House has a lot of fun jawboning the thing, and if things go their way, they take credit for it. But the reality is, I think that some prices, and you've seen this across the country, McDonald's has a $5 value meal now.
Yep.
And Starbucks is cutting some prices. And I think that what's happening really is the economy is slowing down. I mean, people have gotten to the point where they just cannot use the same budgets they had before and buy the same thing. So prices are coming down and demand is slowing. I mean, since May, really, May and June, the sort of Citibank Surprise Index of Economic Indicators has gone down quite substantially. Now, these numbers are more survey-oriented than really hard data, but the fact is that, I think there is a slowdown in the economy coming here that's a little bit surprising. The Atlanta Fed was talking about a 3% second quarter GDP number, less than a month ago. Now it's down to 1%. So I think as the economy slows and as demand slows, retailers are forced to cut prices because the foot traffic through their stores is going down.
Well, I noticed that the seafood paella at Victory in Elmhurst was, a little pricier than I am, normally. So I had to get the less expensive Super Tuscan, and I considered not getting the chocolate mousse for dessert. So it's starting to hit, people like starting to hit people like me, and obviously that's of concern to everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Having to forego the chocolate mousse is painful stuff.
I mean, it's just no way to live, and I think we can all agree on that.
Exactly.
With respect to the policy choices upcoming, so you mentioned no rates cuts yet this year, and only the sort of long duration big tech stocks seem to be comfortable with the Fed policy. So what is the anticipation from now until election? Just sort of stay the course and hope things continue to click along such that people's 401k seem relatively relatively stable in climbing incrementally, even if they're getting hammered at the grocery store and the pump?
Yeah, exactly. Well said, and good thought process here. I mean, to be honest with you, the stock market really, again, is at all-time highs, right? And the economy is slowing down. But the fact is that, what's driving the economy, what's given us the surprise upside on economic growth over the last year, hasn't been the normal business cycle kind of response, to rates that really are high by comparison to the last 5 to 10 years, but, they're still pretty low. So I think that the market is looking at this going into the election as if we get a little bit of a slowdown here, the same thing that's been happening over the last 3 years will happen again, and that is that fiscal stimulus, more deficit spending will come into the economy before the election to make everybody feel a little bit better before they go to the voting booth.
I got one more quick question for you, too. Crypto. All of this talk about government debt and the reserve currency status of the dollar and so forth, and yet and the market performing well, and crypto seem to rise along with the market as opposed to being an inflation hedge, and yet the volatility there with Bitcoin back under 60 grand after topping out at 70 not so long ago. So do we have any better handle on exactly what's going on with cryptos, particularly Bitcoin?
I'm not an expert in the field, Dan, to be honest with you, and I do own some, and I've had it for a long time, and it's a very small amount, but the reason I bought it was to just follow it and track it and read everything I could read about it. And I don't really see how, as Larry Fink at BlackRock says, it's the new liquid gold. And I said, well, if it's that sort of, libertarian kind of get me out of the government, get me out of the markets, and I'm worried about the dollar, if that's the case, why not buy gold? That's my view on it. And I think that Bitcoin, just this whole move in the last month, Bitcoin's down 20%, right? There's been some Bitcoins in some of these wallets that have been stuck in there for 10 years, right? Now, if you're worried about your money being stuck in the financial system, and you find out that the owners of this stuff are finally, after 10 years, able to get their money back, that doesn't seem like a very good alternative to me. It makes me feel like, geez, I'm really glad I don't own that. So I think, well, I'll cut to the chase on this one really quick, and I'll just say this. There's a website or two that can allow investors to see what politicians are buying with their investment funds, right? And, it's the same old stuff, NVIDIA, Palo Alto Networks, and all this sort of stuff. But what's interesting is the number of politicians, this is the House of Representatives and the Senate, 500-odd people, only 2 of them own Bitcoin. Right?
Yeah, that's telling.
That's
Jim Perry, founder, CIO, Perry International Capital Partners. Thanks as always, Jim. Appreciate it.
You bet. Have a good week.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll return to Biden's future at 8:08.
It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Biden under more pressure. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News, as Congress returns today. And Fox's Madeline Rivera reports from the White House.
At least 5 House Democrats have gone public with their calls for the president to step aside, but there is a lot more frustration churning behind closed doors. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries had a virtual meeting with ranking House Committee Dems on Sunday. Several of them voiced concerns about the president's viability.
4 of them calling privately for the president to exit the 2024 race, including top Democrats on House committees Adam Smith, Jerry Nadler, Mark Takano, and Joe Morrell. But the president keeps running, campaigning in Philadelphia.
This election is going to be about block and tackling, simple, basic politics.
Now, former President Trump has called for a second debate after President Biden's performance in the first one led to all this scrutiny about his age and mental fitness. Tonight, the former president will be interviewed on Hannity on the Fox News channel at 9 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow, President Biden hosts world leaders at a NATO summit. Helping Ukraine battle Russia, a big topic after Russian missile attacks today killed at least 31 people.
A daylight bombardment of Kyiv, the biggest for months. Ukraine's largest children's hospital among the buildings hit. According to President Volodymyr Zelensky, Russia used 40 missiles to target 5 different cities in all.
Fox's Jonathan Savage. Hurricane Beryl's raining down on Texas. There are flood warnings in place in the Houston area after Beryl made landfall between Corpus Christi and Galveston before dawn. Fox Weather's Bretta Merwin has been riding the storm out in a car in Surfside.
Imagine 4 hours of winds that are gusting above 90 miles per hour. That's been the reality. I got to tell you, the winds with Beryl, just when you feel like it's going to let up, it just comes rushing right back in.
And the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, Beryl still a Category 1. America's listening to Fox News.
Partly sunny skies, 71 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Chicago coming off an extremely violent, extended 4th of July weekend. At least 19 have been killed, nearly 100 wounded in shootings over the holiday weekend, far exceeding last year's numbers. Mayor Brandon Johnson and Chicago Police Superintendent Snelling will address the violence at a press conference this morning. Police officers are upset with Mayor Brandon Johnson for pushing the city council to reject an independent arbitrator's ruling on police discipline. So, several hundred officers joined FOP President John Catanzara, uniting with firefighters and paramedics to protest, marching down Michigan Avenue before the NASCAR race, calling attention to their ongoing battles for new contracts. Pat Cleary is with Firefighters Local 2.
Just think about it. July 4th, we had 55 shootings and 13 fires. We responded to all that. Some of us responded to those incidents shorthanded. Some of them were on overtime, working 48 hours in a row. It needs to stop. Our workers are overworked.
Firefighters have been working without a new contract since 2021. A Chicago pastor has been reported missing. Warren Beard's family says they've not heard from him since last Tuesday when he was last seen in Joliet.
He comes home, he goes to work out, and he goes to church for the most part. That's what he does. And for him to not come home, he's never done that in all the years. We've been married 16 years.
Loved ones have searched throughout the weekend. They're planning to hold an event later today at his church. Cubs shut out the Angels 5-0. White Sox lost to the Marlins 7-4. The news service of Blue Stars Security. Support our police and hire the police to personally protect you and your business. Visit online for a free security consultation at bluestarsecurityllc.com. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now, the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Summer sales are on. Amazon's competitors are already offering discounts ahead of Amazon Prime Days, which will be July 16th and 17th. Target Circle Week started on Sunday. It runs through Saturday. Walmart's deals are today through Thursday. There's also a Sam's Club July Super Savings event this week. Stocks are under pressure as investors wait for Fed Chair Jerome Powell's Capitol Hill testimony on Tuesday and Wednesday. Also, the Consumer Price Index is out on Thursday and the Producer Price Index on Friday. Boeing shares are higher after the company agreed to a criminal fraud charge related to the 737 MAX crashes. And Paramount Global shares are up more than 4% after agreeing to merge with Skydance Media. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk is worried about a July surprise.
July 11th, our presumptive nominee will stand in a courtroom and be sentenced to something. Judge Mershon has the ability to say, Mr. Trump, you are to go to Rikers Island right now. Our candidate and the former president could be sent to jail on July 11th.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
Building owners, property managers, and chief engineers. This one's for you.
Hello, this is Bruce Diedrich with Waukegan Roofing, your professional roofer. Everything starts on top. Your investment, your building, and everything in it is protected by your roof. It needs to be in good shape. That's where we can help. If it needs to be repaired or replaced, or you think it might, call us. Let's find out. Here's the number.
847-623-1625.
At Waukegan Roofing, our employees are union-trained roofing professionals with OSHA safety training certifications and have thorough knowledge and expertise regarding the various roofing systems we sell, maintain, and install. We know commercial roofing systems because that's all we do. Over 110 years of doing commercial roofs. Waukegan Roofing has the slogan,
Roofs you can rely on.
Because you can. Here's the number to call.
847-623-1625.
And get the info at waukeganroofing.com. waukeganroofing.com.
Safety. It's so important at your industrial facility. You need to keep your personnel safe and meet OSHA requirements. One problem with your ladders, platforms, or safety guards, and you could be facing costly fines. Vans Industrial helps you meet OSHA standards to keep your employees safe.
Hi, I'm Dave Van Camp, president of Vans Industrial. As a business owner, I realize the importance of keeping my employees safe, and I'm here to offer my expertise. Vans Industrial is a specialty contractor uniquely equipped to design, fabricate, and install safety equipment, including walkways, handrails, stairways, and machinery guards. Our Vans Industrial team can inspect existing systems, engineer solutions, fabricate quality goods, and install them with trained pros, all making a safer environment for your employees.
Call 833-VANS-IND for a free inspection of your facility. Interested in what else they do? Visit vansindustrial.com. That's VANSindustrial.com. Quality craftsmanship since 1964.
The best things in life, they come in twos. 2 scoops of ice cream, 2 tacos. And now for a limited time, get our best deal of the year. Buy any phone when you switch to Consumer Cellular and get 2 months of service free. That's right, the same fast, reliable nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, now with 2 months free. Proof the best things in life really do come in twos. Visit consumercellular.com or call 1-888-FREEDOM. Second and third month of monthly base service fee waived for new customers with the purchase of a phone and activation by July 31st, 2024. Taxes, fees, and third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
Progressive presents 10 things on a plumber's to-do list that are harder than getting a small business insurance quote. Waking up for 5 a.m. plumbing disasters, finding out why water is pouring from the ceiling, replacing a pipe in a home from the 1800s, then dealing with invoices or your awkward apprentice or that really weird smell, and then there's breathing and eating, and of course, clogs. But the easiest thing on any small business owner's to-do list? Seeing if you could save on the business insurance that's right for you. Get a quote in as little as 7 minutes at progressivecommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company. Coverage provided and serviced by affiliated and third-party insurers.
8:09. Let's check the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of Windy City Safes. Windy City Safes is Chicagoland's only Liberty Safe dealer. With Liberty Safes, you're not just getting a safe, you're getting peace of mind. Visit the NIO showroom, call 224-LOCKBOX, or online at windycitysafes.com. New Lenox in Will County Joliet Highway, east and westbound, remain shut down between Prairie and Northgate Road, all due to that earlier Metra Southwest service train versus pedestrian incident. There are big delays on Southwest service this morning. I-94 in northwest Indiana remaining closed, 2 right lanes closed due to a much earlier truck fire. Things are slow on the tri-state as you're traveling southbound. Right on the off-ramp to the Ike, there's an accident in the right-hand lane. Everything backing up to the Bensonville Bridge this morning. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Some sun, then turning cloudy. Thunderstorm in a couple of different spots today. High near 83. A thunderstorm in the area this evening, otherwise cloudy. Low tonight 68. Partly sunny. A thunderstorm in spots tomorrow. A high 81. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Clouds and 70 at O'Hare. Drizzle and 71 in Joliet. Your next news update 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Van Jones, Obama suck toy, CNN commentator, who was reduced to tears after the debate a week ago Thursday.
Oh, yeah.
He had this to say over the holiday weekend. Look, we're running Kamala one way or the other.
We're running Kamala Harris for president right now. That's who we're running. Nobody believes Joe Biden's going to be president in 4 years. And so we're in the worst possible world because she can't defend herself. She has to defend him. We can't defend her. We have to defend him. If we're basically running Kamala Harris anyway, let's run Kamala Harris and let her get out there and defend herself and accept that's where we are. The reality is we are running Kamala Harris for president one way or the other. I'd rather run her for president in the strongest way rather than the weakest way.
Bakari?
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, 64636DA, turnkey.pro text line. But that's sort of the doublespeak that the Democrats are left with, where they have to hedge, as Van Jones conceded, because and by we, he's not just talking about Democrat operatives like him. He's talking about the D.C. press corps. He's talking to CNN, but they're talking like they're just saying in public what they're saying privately. Here's what we need to do. The pretend journalists, the Jake Tappers and the Dana Bashes, as well as their guests pretending to be sort of, one playing a role, the other playing a role, but they're all part of the same consortium, if you will, the same blob. What are we collectively going to do with our revolutionary party? That's the conversation, isn't it?
Wow. I mean, then who would Kamala Harris's running mate be? Gavin Newsom, Governor Pritzker?
No, it's you're obviously going to go to somebody perceived to be a moderate in a state that you need, which is why the talk has been Josh Shapiro in Pennsylvania, the governor there, or Mark Kelly, the senator from Arizona. You have to have Pennsylvania. You'd like to be able to get Arizona again. I don't know what the prospects of getting either are at this stage, but again, don't start measuring the drapes quite yet. I know you have some Dems saying Biden is being delusional about the polling and so on and so forth. I mentioned earlier in the show the Morning Consult poll, Bloomberg Morning Consult polling out over the weekend, Saturday, that had Biden moving into the lead in Wisconsin and Michigan and closing to within shouting distance in places like Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada, Arizona. So I say, the following. Just remember that we, Van Jones is talking about, they still have all the D.C. press corps propagandists. They still have their government schools and their government unions. They still have 10 million or more illegal immigrants they imported and distributed to vote-rich metropolitan areas and swing states, lorded over by sanctuary politicians. So they still have a lot of the means to their ends. What they need is a belief that this race is close. It's close enough it could go either way. It's the toss-up that Biden said to George Stephanopoulos it was, according to his unnamed pollsters. And then they have to rely on the mechanics and the superior infrastructure they have, vote-by-mail programs and the like. And again, whatever may or may not come with all of those Biden buddies that have come into this country illegally, and maybe they can somehow, by hook or by crook, sneak out another victory.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Even David Axelrod says it may be time to go.
Person that no one can outrun is Father Time. You know, Tom Brady won a Super Bowl 3 years ago, and he's out of football. Okay, why? Doesn't detract from his greatness or what he's done. It's just there are certain immutable facts of life, and those were painfully obvious on that debate stage. And the president just doesn't seem to he hasn't come to grips with it. He's not winning this race. He's more likely, if you just look at the data and talk to people around the country, political people around the country, it's more likely that he'll lose by a landslide than win narrowly this race. And if the stakes are as large as he says, and I believe they are, then he really needs to consider what the right thing to do here is.
Well, the right thing to do for you, David Axelrod, and the party, or the right thing to do for General Secretary Joe and his family. And again, this is what they won't say, but we know is that General Secretary Joe and Jill and Hunter et al. Have every reason to try to hang on because it's in their legal interests to do so. I mean, it's
not in the country's interest. They're being selfish.
The president, well, as all politicians are, people are self-interested in. So, yeah, you can do the whole democracy apocalypse line of argumentation, but at the end of the day, they're looking at the prospect, would it be better if we ran the gauntlet and had the chance to win, or should we walk now? I mean, walking now doesn't prevent them from coming after you in a way that Republicans didn't when Trump won in 2016, and that presidential immunity decision notwithstanding, there are angles into the Biden family, particularly if you have not just the White House, but control of the House and the Senate as well. So, I mean, there's a lot of, this is a multivariate equation, even for the Biden family, even just in service of their own interests. We could lose the White House, but maybe if it's a different candidate, we could hang on to the Senate, something like that, because Democrats are running ahead of Republicans and running ahead of Biden in these swing states where there are toss-up Senate seats in play. So I don't know, but I know what's been going on for the last week is the effort to move General Secretary Joe out and have the Politburo install a new general secretary for the purposes of the November plenary session, if you will. But they're on the clock. So if they can't ease him out, when and can they get a full complement of apparatchiks to come at him from every angle to turn off the money and to turn off the political support and to stop hedging and say in a full-throated fashion, General Secretary Joe, you are done. Get off the stage.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Dan. Do you think it's possible that the Bidens get paid by donors to drop out of the race?
I don't think it's...
I mean, like, we'll give you millions. Just sit this one out. You know, if they do it, you know, in the seedy ways that they operate.
I don't think you can buy him out of the race. I mean, and I don't think you can make, because they can make millions, set up a Clinton Foundation type bull jive money laundering operation to go speechify before corporate America and academic institutions and multinationals and NGOs. I mean, they can make money no matter what happens. The issue is, can you make a promise to them that you are in a position to keep if you lose? And the answer is they can't, and the Bidens know it. Can you make a promise about Hunter Biden's future legally? Can you make a promise about Joe Biden's future legally? You can't, particularly if you don't win. And if I don't think Kamala can win, then why don't I just roll the dice on myself? Deborah in Arlington Heights, here on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning. Me and millions of other people in this country have been seeing this decline since 2019, 2020. Does anybody honestly think that the Democrat Party is going to come out now and pull this guy out? They'd have to admit that they've been lying about his condition for the last 3.5 to 4 years, first of all. That's not, I don't see that ever happen, that they would admit that, and then the country would be like, you've been lying to us, you've all been lying to us. Yeah, we're going to vote for this guy now? Like, I just don't see it happening.
Thanks for the call, Deborah. They don't have to admit they were lying. Joe Scarborough on Friday said if he were CEO and he turned in a performance like that, would any corporation in America keep him on? This is after Joe Scarborough said 90 days earlier that he was at the top of his game.
Oh, that's right.
So,
I remember
so
that.
does Joe Scarborough, I mean, just to give you an example, Joe Scarborough, did he admit he lied? Knowingly lied? No. They just paper over one lie with the next.
Mm-hmm.
There's a series I mentioned in a book based on it earlier in the show. I referenced, I didn't mention, but I'll mention it now. It's called A Gentleman in Moscow. It was a novel written by Amor Towles that was turned into a series on Paramount Plus. It stars Ewan McGregor and his wife. And A Gentleman in Moscow basically is a period piece after the Bolshevik Revolution in Russia. And the Ewan McGregor character is a former member of Russian nobility who now has been imprisoned in this hotel in Moscow, the Metropole Hotel. It's a fictional story, but it's rooted in some truth. You know, the Bolsheviks, obviously, all the titles, the elites, all that stuff is gone now because it's the revolution of the proletariat. So he's in prison, and he's got a Soviet police killer that is essentially his warden at the hotel and the warden of other political prisoners. And there's this exchange in which Osip, the Soviet secret police guy, says to Rostov, who is the McGregor character, he asks him a question, and he asks him a question knowing he's going to get an unfavorable response from Rostov. Mm-hmm. And Rostov says, why do you ask me that question? Why do you want me to lie to you? And Osip says, there is truth in the lies we tell. That the lies you tell reveal something about yourself, about what your angle is, what your interests are. And there is truth to the lies that are being told now by these media propagandists and these apparatchiks in the Revolutionary Party that are trying to ease General Secretary Joe off the stage. And the truth is that the ends justify the means, that this is a party that is committed to this revolution in America, not dissimilar to the Bolsheviks, frankly. These neo-Bolsheviks that form the base of the party, they're committed to it. And a lot of these politicians are essentially either beholden or afraid of them to do anything other than go along. And there's nothing they won't do to maintain power because, everything is on the line for them with respect to this revolution they have effectively been bringing, rampaging through our cultural institutions, and they want to inculcate in government. There is more punishment to be inflicted with complete control of the state. Imprisoning political prisoners, canceling people, the censorious nature of the state, co-opting the private sector for the purposes of spying and more censorious behavior. That's all a part of it. But there's much more to do to usher in the great egalitarian utopia they seek. So there is truth in the lies they tell. It's an insight into what they will do to advance the state. And that's the we that Van Jones was talking about that we mentioned at the outset. So all of these, the David Remnicks at the New Yorker and the Paul Krugmans and the Nick Kristoffs and the Tom Friedmans all now turning on Joe Biden gently. Gently. This is all of a means to their ends. And, you know, if this was like a post-Stalinist struggle for power, it would be slightly different, like when it was Khrushchev and Malenkov. And Malenkov was seen as more of an extension of Stalin, and Khrushchev less so. But they realized that, by the way, not only do they need to be able to maintain the party's power here to advance the revolution, but in addition to that, they have to protect themselves. Because now that they're gently moving on Biden, if Biden were to win, then, you know, there is a purge that can happen internally as well, as certainly happened under Khrushchev succeeding Stalin. And so these editorial boards that have gone out on a limb to say, Mr. President, step aside, and some of these politicians that are dipping their toe in the water, and these op-ed columnists dipping their toe in the water, you know, they're taking some risk in furtherance of the party. But if it works out bad for them, they could be on the wrong side. They could be on the wrong side of the purge. And there will be an internal purge, not Stalin-esque. I mean, in terms of the straight up murdering of people. We're not there yet. But I mean, it is that same attitude. I mean, these are totalitarians in their attitude. The totalitarians that are going to save democracy from the people, which is their value proposition this cycle. It's worth checking out, by the way, Gentlemen in Moscow. And it's worth reading the book. Or doing both.
I'm busy reading another book.
Maybe somebody can buy a Gentleman in Moscow and send it to you. Jay in Lake Geneva.
Yeah, well, the truth, I want the truth in your life, Dan. You're not really for Trump. You would love Nikki Haley to be the nominee. And you know what, buddy? I think you're going to get your Nimarata. I think we're going to get a woman president, and we're going all straight to hell with World War III. And Joe is stumbling us there, but the girl in pearls is going to get us there, buddy.
The girl in pearls, is that Kamala or Nikki? I'm confused.
I don't know. You tell me. You're so smart. Is it Gretchen? Yeah, who is it? Is it Michelle? It's one of them, because that's what it's going to be in November. It's going to be a woman versus a woman, and then we're going straight into World War III.
Oh, Trump is also going to be deposed somehow.
Absolutely.
How's that going to happen?
Look at you. Months ago, you told us it was Trump and Biden. Biden's about to fall off, and then Trump will be next.
Okay, Jay.
Trump's not going anywhere.
Trump will be next just because somehow Trump will be next. And, oh, by the way, I said it would be Biden all the way, and it still is. I don't know how to break it to you, but he's still there. And he's, as you heard over the weekend in Wisconsin.
We had a little debate last week. Can't say it was my best performance. We love it. But ever since then, there's been a lot of speculation. What's Joe going to do? Is he going to stay in the race? Is he going to drop out? What's he going to do? Well, here's my answer. I am running and going to win again.
So, yeah, I mean, I know it's fun to play fantasy politics, and we can do that. But I'll stick with what I said. I think it's very tough to dislodge him. And Kamala, as your plan B, is an insurance policy for him. Still, even in this moment, that's how bad she is. And that's how bad she's viewed.
But that George Stephanopoulos interview on Friday, because after his rally that you just heard in Madison, Wisconsin, he had a 22-minute interview with him. And I thought that was George's way of letting Joe Biden know that this is the beginning of the end. I mean, he's not believing poll numbers, that his favorability is at 36%. And George Stephanopoulos, I thought, did a good job of pushing back on certain things.
Not really. He didn't push back at all. And every politician, if their poll numbers are bad, says, I don't believe the polls. I've got pollsters that say, our pollsters say it different. That's nothing new. People are making too much of that. Big deal. No. Yeah, he doesn't believe the polls. Trump doesn't believe polls, too, when he's down. Trump says things about polls that I'm up, 42 points when he's up 4. So, I mean, the whole, how politicians react to polls favorably or unfavorably is really strained. That's really strained analysis. So this is his posture. And now the question is, as I said before, and it's an open question. It's not obvious to me I know it's obvious to all the conspiracy theorists who have everything figured out all the time, even though most of it never comes true, that you can put together the critical mass to force him off the stage, because that's what it's going to take. Roy in his car.
Hey guys, how you doing today?
Good.
Good. And when you break it all down, it's all about the power. You touched on it earlier. The Clintons, the Bushes, the Bidens, at all. It's all about power, all about maintaining power, all about keeping their people in position. The Obamas, obviously. And when you break it all down, that's what it really comes from. It's all about holding on to power and keeping the power as long as you can. Have a good day.
Thanks for the call, Roy. That's true, but I would just say, hasten to add, because I've heard that comment too. Everybody tries to hang on to power. What's different? Well, the lengths that you will go to, there are some differences there. There's a spectrum of the lengths some people will go to hold on to political power over others. And, the Bolsheviks are on one end of that spectrum. And the Revolutionary Party, that is the modern Democrat Socialist Party in this country, is not that far from where the Bolsheviks got to. That's what I'm saying. I wrote a commentary for my podcast over at American Greatness. The Democrats have gone full Soviet now with their damage control and effort to figure out a way to switch out and switch in. This is full Soviet. All of the lead up to this moment that they thrust upon themselves because of the propaganda they were running. Joe in East Dundee.
Hey, Dan and Amy. If I were to choose a Democrat, which I'm not, but I think that Biden would be a better candidate than Kent Smala. She can't run the country, and even 50% of Joe would be better than 100% of Kim Smala.
Thanks for the call, Joe. I won't touch that, but nope. I would say it would almost guarantee that he sticks it out and can survive.
Oh yeah.
If not for one thing.
What?
September 10th. He's got to go back on that debate stage.
Oh,
and
boy.
That's the problem. That's what he has to convince people. He has to convince people I can not have a repeat performance on September 10th. And based on the Stephanopoulos interview and some other of his efforts over the weekend, he's left a lot of people wholly unconvinced.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
We'll talk more about this with Matt Wolfson, who's an investigative journalist, about Biden's replacement and the machinations going on to that end. That's at 8:38.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Clouds and sun, 72 degrees, and we're watching Hurricane Beryl now barreling north near Houston, Texas, over the home of this man, John Daniel.
There's lots of single moms, single people, that need help. Can't even afford to leave.
He's trying to get people out of their homes in the way of Hurricane Beryl, where Houston Mayor John Whitmire has a message for everyone along the southeast Texas coast.
We have to take Beryl very, very serious. Our worst enemy is our complacency. We can't allow this storm to slip up on us. We've had notice of it. It's still very unpredictable.
Category 1 storm bringing about heavy rain and wind, and about 1 million people are without power. As Congress reconvenes this week, President Biden's debate performance rightfully raising questions among top Democrats like Senator Chris Murphy.
Voters do have questions, and personally, I love Joe Biden. I don't know that the interview on Friday night did enough to answer those questions. And so I think this week is going to be absolutely critical. I think the president needs to do more.
Boeing will plead guilty to criminal fraud over 2 fatal 737 MAX airplane crashes, one in 2018 and 2019, and pay a $243 million fine. Chicago's coming off an extremely violent, extended 4th of July weekend. At least 19 have been killed, nearly 100 wounded in shootings, far exceeding last year's numbers. A Chicago pastor has been reported missing. Warren Beard's family says they've not heard from him last Tuesday when he was in Joliet.
We just want to find him. We want to bring him home. Any information that anyone may have, even if it's an anonymous tip, we just need some direction on where to go.
His wife Wanda speaking with reporters yesterday. Beard is an assistant pastor at a New Israelite Missionary Baptist Church on Chicago's south side. Cubs blank the Angels 5-0. They visit Baltimore next. And starting pitcher Shota Imanaga has been elected to the National League All-Star roster. Meantime, the White Sox starter Garrett Crochet was selected to the AL All-Star roster. He leads the AL in strikeouts. White Sox did lose over the weekend to the Marlins, 7-4. The news, a service of Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Charlie Kirk might have a trust issue.
They lied about the origins of COVID. They lied about the Hunter Biden laptop. They lied about Donald Trump and the Russiagate. When I hear that from the intel agencies, they have not earned my trust the last 5 years. Not at all. And the repeated lies and the repeated use of the American government for political means, we should never trust what these intel agencies say ever again.
The Charlie Kirk Show. Afternoons at 1, right before Sebastian Gorka at 3 on AM 560. The Answer.
If credit card debt is stressing you out and keeping you up at night, you need to call Team Hochberg about a fresh start debt consolidation loan. Meet Mitch, 43, IT manager, score 653, making $74,000 a year living in a $300,000 home in Geneva. Mitch accumulated $45,000 of credit card debt when he lost his job. So he contacted Team Hochberg about a fresh start debt consolidation mortgage after securing a new job. Team Hochberg loan officer Johnny Hendrickson helped Mitch eliminate the credit card debt he accumulated while being unemployed and saved him over $1,200 a month. Let's review. Johnny helped Mitch pay off credit card debt totaling $45,000 and saved him over $14,000 a year. What are you waiting for? Team Hochberg helped Mitch and thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 112. 461.
When you're in chronic pain, you're miserable to be around, and so are the people who have to watch you suffer. So stop it. Do something about it. Now's the time to be proactive and take care of yourself. And there's another solution other than surgery or drugs. Call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, they have a cutting-edge treatment that revitalizes your joints with your body's own healing process. So if you have arthritis or if you're in pain in your knees, hips, shoulder, back due to an injury, you need to call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation and get your life and mobility back. I've been to one of their clinics. I met a few of their customers. They were smiling from ear to ear, so happy to have their mobility back, pain-free, without surgery. They have locations all across the Chicagoland area, including new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Call for a free consultation, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955.
This hourly segment is sponsored by Protecting Your Assets with Steve Scheinman. Listen Saturday mornings at 8. Learn more at willsave.com.
8:38. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. This update is service of expresspros.com. Express Employment Professionals helps tens of thousands of people find jobs every year. Never charges a fee. Go to expresspros.com to find your location. That's expresspros.com. The Kennedy at an hour 6, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike right now inbound at 1 hour 390 into the old post office. Dan Ryan 30 minutes, 95th into the Circle. Outbound side, an accident, car into the wall between 87th and 95th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast, sun and clouds. Humid with a chance of an afternoon thunderstorm and a high of 83. Partly sunny right now, 72. Light rain in the Southland. Lansing right now seeing sprinkles and 70. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The big guy, Mr. 10%, President Biden, wrote a letter to congressional Democrats today. Saying, quote, I want you to know that despite all the speculation in the press and elsewhere, I am firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end, and to beating Donald Trump. End quote.
The end. I mean,
there
we're
it
going to play
is.
this cat and mouse game for the next 122 days. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is Kamala Harris? I mean, it's such a drama play.
Well, the problem with Kamala Harris is, of course, Kamala Harris. Remember, before you start getting excited about a plan B if you're a Democrat, I mean, this is Kamala Harris and at her best, at her finest. She's a great retail politician, just like they say Joe Biden is a great retail politician. Sure, she is. Here's another one of many instant classics from Kamala Harris. You remember when she tried to fill up an electric vehicle with a charger?
Oh, yeah, that was good. But that was one.
It's a bad episode.
Oh,
no
gosh. Sorry about that.
It's plugged in, so is it plugged into just a normal electric socket, right?
Yes. Normally it's a 240 volt, but you can go ahead and plug in, and
okay.
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There we are.
That's it.
And there's no sound or fume.
There is nothing.
Yeah.
Electricity doesn't have
For
fumes.
all of us who are used to,
every morning
filling our tank, we usually can smell it and you can hear it. You can hear the guzzling sound.
Right.
None of that.
None of
so
that.
how do I know it's actually working?
It is. So typically, once you wave the card, it's actually charging. So
But how would I know that? Tell me how I would know that.
So typically, excuse me.
Yeah.
So typically, you come in, you wave this card, and then what it would do is it would authenticate.
Yeah,
the
had to
light
show
source.
her how she knows it's charging.
Just stand there and stare at it for hours.
She had the same conversation at Verizon. How do I know this phone is charging? And no fumes. When I plug in my phone, there's no fumes to it. So that's your plan B.
Mm-hmm.
You may want to. Democrats may want to see if there is a morning after pill politically, if this is your plan B. For more on this, please be joined by Matt Wolfson, investigative journalist. He writes at oppo-research.com. Sounds very dark and shifty. oppo-research.com. Matt Wolfson, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Amy. It's great to be here.
So, a Biden replacement, we've been essentially suggesting all morning that, they're trying to gently ease Joe Biden down the stairs and to the exit. But as you heard from his letter today to congressional Democrats, no dice.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's in. I was talking to somebody. I'm an ex-leftist. I was talking to a friend of mine on the left yesterday who's still on that side, and I said, look, I disagree with Biden about everything except maybe one policy. I think he's one of the worst presidents in our history, and yet, in the face of this, I find myself in the face of what I think is going on, oddly rooting for him, because this is such a top-down corporate Democrat insider play. I mean, it's actually viscerally offensive. I'm sort of surprised. I mean, because Biden is the last person in the world I would ever feel any sympathy for, and yet in the face of what I think is happening, which is that insider Washington, all of these sort of internal operatives who never leave, have decided, against, by the way, what polling in the swing states say, they've decided that Biden, isn't useful to them anymore. And so they're booting him out. And they're doing it in really typically corrupt ways. Insider leaks. Certain operatives on his team that I think are likely playing both sides.
Of course.
So it's a very strange situation.
Well, what role is President or former President Obama playing in this, do you think?
Well, what's interesting is you can't know, but you can speculate. And if you look at past, sort of weird plays in Washington from sort of the lead up to the Iraq War to Russiagate to this, what they all sort of share in common is that people start noticing, sort of like dissident journalists who won't take the party line in D.C., start noticing weird facts on the side, and then they're sort of like, wait a minute, what's going on here? And that's sort of what I'm finding, in this case. So first of all, for example, the day of the debate, literally the day of the debate, Axios, the website, the news website, happened to come out with a piece explaining why Michelle Obama wasn't campaigning for Biden. I hadn't noticed that, but I thought, okay. And the two reasons were that she was mad at the way that the family had treated Hunter Biden's ex, and they were friends, and that she hated politics. And both of those seemed a little weird to me because, Michelle Obama, whatever you think of her, famously values family cohesion, so why would she blame the Bidens for their personal thing? And also, she coined the most famous line of recent election cycles, when they go low, we go high. And that was my first thought, that these were weird explanations. My second was, why is it coming out the day of the debate? It's just weird timing. Well, that night, Biden bombs. A day later, Obama, releases a statement saying, we all have bad debates. What matters is the last 4 years. But it's kind of vague. He doesn't, outright re-endorse Biden, say I'm with him 100% till the end. That happens the day of. 2 days later, 4 days later, the Washington Post comes out with a piece saying, privately, Obama is saying that Biden is in a much worse place. If you take sort of that succession of events, that's on one side, right? Then there's a whole sort of other quiet set of reports the last year that makes them make more sense. One of them is that President Obama has been living in Washington, D.C. since he got out of the White House. No president has done that in our history since Woodrow Wilson, who had a massive stroke and couldn't be moved in 1921. Left. This is weird. When Obama originally got out of the White House, he said that's because our youngest daughter wants to finish high school here. And everybody was like, okay, but she's way out of high school now, and they're still there. And the reporter David Samuels, who's one of these sort of dissident liberals who's pretty mad at the Democratic establishment, he said that D.C. reporters, more than one, have told him that a big story reporters won't cover is who's going to Obama's mansion in Colorado, because Secret Service cars are there often, not the president's, but White House official Secret Service cars, White House aides. If you look at actually, the people in the Biden White House, it is Obama's third term. That's not an exaggeration. Susan Rice, Neera Tanden, Samantha Power, John Kerry, Antony Blinken, Robert Malley, Wendy Sherman, I'm just naming names, right. But it's 10, 12 people. So if you combine the fact that Obama's living in Washington, in contact with these people, that, he makes this weird statement saying that his wife, this is the reason she didn't campaign for Biden, the day of the debate, you start to kind of muddy up the picture where it looks like, well, people like Roger Stone have been saying that Michelle may be the nominee, that they may slate her in.
No.
And if that were a play that they were considering, it would make sense to say, well, we want to keep her away from Biden so she's not tarred by association. But, also, on the eve of this debate, we want to explain why we're doing that.
Yeah, I don't think that's the play. But it seems to me, just to, play this out a bit, that the only way to get him out and to coalesce the entire party around him, and by that I mean the entire party, so I mean the billionaires in Silicon Valley and the D.C. press corps and the academics and, all the constituencies of the Democrat Socialist Revolutionary Party, the only way would be for Michelle Obama to almost make an announcement that I'll run if Joe walks. So, I mean, at some point, what I don't know what their out the window strategy is if he won't take the stairs, but it seems to me that they're going to have to make a decision in terms of whether or not they actually want to pursue the out the window strategy. The other thing about Obama being the puppet master, which I have some suspicion about, even though I agree that this is his third term or their third term, whatever.
Live 3 miles from the White House.
The problem I have is they can't be that close and not know what condition Biden was in. And they decided to roll. So if that's true, they decided to roll the dice, and it came up snake eyes, and so now they're stuck.
Well, so my read is a little bit different.
Okay.
I think he did know, and I think there's no way he couldn't.
Exactly.
And I think that this may have been a kind of just implicit sort of play to set Biden up for a very public fall because he wouldn't step aside anyway. And the evidence I have, or the indication, is that probably the main person responsible for, setting up this debate, making it unprecedentedly in June rather than September, was Anita Dunn. And Anita Dunn is a 30-year Washington player, very close to the Obamas. One of the rare sort of aides to be in both the Obama-Biden White House. Her husband is Obama's personal lawyer, Bob Bauer. She was in charge of all of this sort of debate prep, all of the planning. She's getting like a small amount of blame, but from the media. But the media is sort of being quiet. People close to Biden are calling her a liar, a grifter, saying this is all her fault.
Interesting.
And if you actually look at Dunn's past, she's an incredibly influential consultant in D.C. She has been for 30 years, but she has sort of interests everywhere. And this is an Illinois connection I thought you might find interesting. She's very good at playing both sides of any sort of play. A year ago, it came out that she was both giving Mike Madigan, the former speaker, advice on combating, all of the sexual assault or sexual misconduct trials that were swirling around him. And she made $200,000 doing that. At the same time, her firm was representing one of the women suing Madigan's office for exactly that thing.
Yeah,
and
right.
they didn't disclose the conflict of interest. It only came out in a trial on wiretaps. And the woman who they were representing said she felt absolutely betrayed. She couldn't believe they were playing. It seemed like they were playing both sides. So, Dunn has a history of doing this. So, in a very loose play, and I'm not saying this is coordinated. I just think it's, there's a general understanding of what we all need to do because Joe isn't up to it anymore, but he's dug in his heels.
That's interesting.
I think she would be a natural point person to set up a debate that, was early enough that they could get him out. They might know he might not show his best side. Not a conspiracy at all, just sort of gaming the system a very little bit.
That's really interesting. That's plausible. I got to say that's plausible. It's a different way to look at it, but it's certainly plausible. And so then if that is what was afoot, then they just settle on trying to run the gauntlet with Kamala, and if she comes up short, then we have a clean slate in 28. Is that the philosophy?
I'm not sure. I'm watching reruns of the show Veep with Julie Louis-Dreyfus and Kamala. It's just uncanny how similar she is.
You're so right.
I am not an expert at Democrat. She's not. It's what you said before this segment. She's not a good choice. I'm not an expert at Democrat insider politics, but in terms of the actual politicking, people are talking about open conventions. James Clyburn said that, they should be, or somebody said that they should be auditioning in front of Oprah. People are already floating. Quite publicly.
Yeah.
Either in leaks to the press or publicly, they're floating scenarios. Where someone other than Kamala could get the nomination, whether Gavin Newsom, whether Michelle, whether the Whitmer, gosh help us, Pritzker, oh gosh.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think that there may be something, the open process. Tom Friedman called for that too. Other people have, the idea that, well, if you skip over Kamala, she'll be upset. And so then, Black Americans will be upset and so forth, and that's a problem. But is it really? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, because at the end of the day, it's a binary choice. And so even if your feelings are a little bit hurt, we have bigger fish to fry, and so you make the case, as they've been making, end of times if Trump is reelected, so it's got to be all hands on deck for who's ever up next.
That's what I think they're thinking. And I think they're also thinking, and I mean, I've known people like this, it's very like they don't care what on-the-ground voters think. They think that another 90-minute debate where it's not Biden, someone who can really put cogent sentences together, they think that will swing the race. Like, that is actually what I think they think. Because all of these people, they don't see democracy as government as listening to people. They see it as, throwing a bunch of media sound bites. That's their jobs. They live in D.C. So I think they're looking for a second debate with somebody who will, look very impressive, have those sound bites, and they think that will bring voters. Now, voters in swing states say they still prefer Biden over literally any other Democratic candidate, but, the Democratic apparatus, they don't listen to that. They don't care.
That's a good point. Matt Wolfson, investigative journalist. He writes at oppo-research.com. Matt, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Your show keeps me alive during the week. There's nobody I'd rather listen to between 5 and 9 in the morning than you guys.
On AM 560, The Answer.
When you're in chronic pain, you're miserable to be around, and so are the people who have to watch you suffer. So stop it. Do something about it. Now's the time to be proactive and take care of yourself. And there's another solution other than surgery or drugs. Call QC Kinetics. QC Kinetics, they have a cutting-edge treatment that revitalizes your joints with your body's own healing process. So if you have arthritis or if you're in pain in your knees, hips, shoulder, back due to an injury, you need to call QC Kinetics today for a free consultation and get your life and mobility back. I've been to one of their clinics. I met a few of their customers. They were smiling from ear to ear, so happy to have their mobility back, pain-free, without surgery. They have locations all across the Chicagoland area, including new locations in Crystal Lake and Gurnee. Call for a free consultation, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955, 312-809-5955.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call now at 800-533-6605 for a free consultation. For 17 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau and a Christian-owned company. Don't get stuck in the endless cycle of payments. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Christian-owned Total Financial Freedom now at 800-533-6605. That's 800-533-6605. 800-533-6605.
If you had $1 million in 2009, today it would be worth less than $700,000. Thank you, big government. Hedge against runaway inflation with gold from Birch Gold Group. Birch Gold will help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. I trust Birch Gold, and you can too.
Text the word SHELTER to the number 989898 and get a free, no-obligation info kit on gold. Text SHELTER to 989898 today.
Did you know you can get your prescriptions for less at your local pharmacy? You can with GoodRx. It's the free app that can save you money on your medications. Just search for your prescription, choose the pharmacy and the price that works best for you, and then show your GoodRx coupon to your pharmacist at the drop-off counter. GoodRx works at over 70,000 pharmacies, including Walmart, Rite Aid, and Walgreens. And it works whether you have insurance or not. It's easy to save. Next time you drop off your prescription, check GoodRx. To start saving today, go to GoodRx.com. GoodRx is not insurance.
I don't like onions. I'm doing paleo. Do they have gluten-free bagels? You can't juggle every food request for a work event, or can you? EasyCater is the all-in-one tech platform that makes it easy to get restaurant catering for work, with options for any group size, taste, dietary preference, or budget. EasyCater saves your favorite restaurants and orders, which makes reordering a snap. Need to modify an order? No problem. So when it comes to food for work, make it easy on yourself with EasyCater. Start your order at easycater.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Did you hear that Michael Moore has called the state of Biden's campaign the cruelest form of elder abuse he's ever been forced to watch?
Yeah, my heart bleeds for Michael Moore.
Yeah. Go eat a sandwich. All right, coming up. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Now into the newsroom we go. Here's Mike Scott.
19 killed, nearly 100 wounded in shootings over the extended July 4 holiday weekend. And Northwestern College in the south suburbs abruptly closes. WIND Chicago News Time 9.
He's going to